What's up, everybody? Welcome to the stream. Tis time to go, tis. More words need apostrophes. We should just remove them altogether. Most of the letters, just put apostrophes in there. It's more fun. More fun. Yes, I'm dressed for the weather today. That's what we're doing. Today's dressed for the weather. If I would, this is golfing attire, just in case it ever breaks out and I have to go golfing. But I'll be in my dark basement with a fan on me the whole time. Regardless, nice and warm. Yeah, the weather is golfing. That's exactly what it is. It's going to be plus 31, which in freedom units, and then feel like 40 or something. Like in freedom units, that's pretty hot. So I'm not looking forward to it. Why men get so angry? That's what we're talking about today. It's gonna be something. We're gonna start with. It was hard to figure out what order to put these things in, because I've got an example video, and then I've got a Psychology Today article about it, and then I've got a spiritual thing that goes with it, and then I've got like a video game thing, and they all tie together. I like totally not like. When I started researching these things or putting it all together, I wasn't planning on this topic. It just kind of came out of, must be what people are talking about. And so I figured, we'll do that. So it's going to be something. Yeah. Theme stream. Yeah. We're doing a theme stream. Today is anger. And really it's a universal thing, right? It's not like there's only one gender that gets angry. In fact, when we read the Psychology Today article, we're going to see that it, men might get angry raw, but women get angry too, and they're just kind of conditioned to bring it inward, which doesn't make it's not better, it's just different. Although less people get shot by women than men, so that's probably a little bit better. Just keep it internal. Don't deal with it. Pretend it's not there. That's how we deal with it. I'm sure there's no negative consequences to that. Hey, Ferret, good to see you, man. No, let her go, man. We need people. We're going to be talking about anger, but we're also going to be doing the Satan, apparently, so that'll be fun. Good to see you, Samus. Rice and sunflower seeds. That sounds very something. How you doing, Chrono? Hello, Shenanigans. A lot happening, and I'm so tired and worn down. Oh, I hear that, man. It's such a, I don't know, we can kind of fool ourselves into thinking that maybe that, there's an end to this, or if I just, if I just wait long enough, or it couldn't possibly get worse than this, or I'm finally used to it, or whatever. And then, you get changes in your biology, or changes in the time, or changes in the weather, or changes in, your financial condition, changes at work, other people affect you. And I don't know, you never feel like you can really get settled, right? You feel like you're kind of, at some point you feel like your head's above water, you're treading, you're like, okay, all right, this sucks, but my head's above water. And then someone comes over and throws a bucket on ties a rock to your foot. And it's just like, you didn't need to do that. Why are you doing that? Yeah, I understand, man. And the hard part for me anyway, and maybe this totally ties into what we're talking about today. And that is, the hard part for me is not trying to take it out on the people around me, because it's really not technically their fault. I mean, some of it is, right? Like, for example, when my kids annoy me because they don't do something I want them to do, or whatever, the amount of angry I am at them is not, the amount that I feel is usually not the same amount that they actually, worth what they just did. And so therefore there's a lot of stuff in the background. And so how do you not try to make yourself feel better by blowing up on the people around you? I mean, we're talking about, that's what we're talking about today. And I've definitely learned that, when I'm super stressed out, or there's a lot going on, that's something I need to be very careful with, is how I react to other people, how I perceive stuff, how I put things together, how I, the thinking in my brain and my perception of the world is a little off. It's just a little off because I have, because I got stuff going on. And then then not just upset, but also sad stuff and grumpy stuff and eating too much and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, that's rough. Before we get started here, we'll jump in. I see no reason not to just jump straight into this thing. But before we do, does anybody have anything you want to talk about? How was your weekend? What went on? What was your anything fun? Anything fun? I had a a pretty benign weekend, I think. Trying to think, did I do anything? Not really. We just kind of chill. In fact, I think I chilled too much because, you know, on Monday morning I woke up and I'm like, you know what? I don't feel like I rested. I just feel like I lazed, which is not the same thing. There's healthy rest, and then there's like just stopping, and you don't necessarily feel better after you've just like ignored the whole world and not done things for a whole day. Sometimes you feel worse after that, and it's just not, you know, like you need to do something. You got to meet Aki and Jones on Saturday. Oh, sick, man. That's cool. Man, he gets around. That Aki guy meets a lot of people. Good for him. And you saw Jones too. That's cool, man. Yeah, he strikes me as a hugger. Hey, you said hug. And we got a heart. Read The Great Gatsby this weekend. Meh, overrated, but at least I've read almost all the great American novels now. My son or my daughter, I think it was my son, had to read The Great Gatsby for school, and then he watched the video, and it's always the same thing. You watch, no matter what the movie is, if you read the book and you're like, the movie's nothing like it. Why did they even call it that? You know, like, that's not what he did, and that's not even his name, or what's going on, and where's this character? Yeah, he was. It was fun to watch my, I think then 16, 17-year-old arguing with the film portrayal of The Great Gatsby. Like, aren't you fancy? Little Aki, Mama Peach wasn't feeling up to outing. Oh, I mean, yeah, fair. That's cool though that you got to meet the kids too. Peach is cool. I have not read The Great Gatsby. I've read a bunch of the quote-unquote great American novels. Or at least great Western. Yeah, let's go with Western. I read a bunch of, I got on a kick a while back where I'm like, everything that's free. I'm going to do all the free ones that I can just download from like Kindle for no money. And there was a ton. There was a few I didn't want to. Like I read, what was that one by Fyodor Dostoevsky? The one where all the, not the most famous, probably the second most famous one. You know, and I'm like, I got through it and I'm like, that was no fun. And then I read, you know, like Dracula, and I'm like, ugh, that was no fun. But I read Metamorphosis. I don't know if that's a great American novel, but I read that one. I think it's probably European. But like, that was fun. I didn't really know exactly what was going on, but that's half the fun. Great Westerns. Yeah, there you go. Just movies, just what's his name? Oh, there's an old school name I should try to figure out. What's that classic American book series where it's a cowboy? It's not Lone Ranger. Before that, not Roy Rogers. Before that, I can't remember his name. That's deep in the memory. Anyway, yeah. But suffice to say, I hop on. No, let's see if we can find it. Cowboy novel series. What am I thinking of? Popular cowboy book series. No, that is not it. There's a lot of romance on there. That is not it for sure. It's probably so old that people don't do it, or it's something that I learned about a while back and it was very and it wasn't as big as I thought it was, but for whatever reason when I was growing up, that was a thing that people talked about. There we go. What do we got? Best novels set in the 1800s. No. I'm gonna try based on a single character. Nope. Yeah, I got nothing. Hopalong Cassidy is definitely one, but it's not who I'm thinking of. Whatever. It doesn't matter. And my brain's not working, and so there's no point in me even trying because it's not there. Like I went reaching for that file cabinet and it was just gone. It just wasn't one there. So it's not like I can go searching through the files. It's just that was a poster on the wall that said, "You knew this once." And that doesn't help. It's just there's no file. It's just a poster that reminds me of things I used to know. And unfortunately, you can't look anything up on a poster. We did, yeah, so there's not much to report over the weekend. There really wasn't much. We didn't do much. I woke up today tired and grumpy and I was like, man, I don't feel like energized from the weekend and ready to start streaming. And what is it? I think the reason was basically that I wasn't being careful with my weekend and structuring it properly, because it's just, like self-indulgent. And last night, like yesterday, I did pretty good, trying to get back onto self-control and cooking and all the rest of that stuff. So it's just, doing well. And then at night I ate 20 marshmallows. And then I was like, man, I'm a bad person. It's like, why spend all day starving myself? Why not starving, but why spend all day with self-control and doing things that were, good for me, if in the evening I was just going to buckle and eat 20 marshmallows anyway? I'm not thinking of Shane. Yeah, no. I don't know what it is. It's a silly name. Kind of. Is it Roy? I think it's a Roy. Anyone's with the name Roy in it? Roy Rogers? No, Roy. I don't know. We get to feel self-indulgent generally, making it harder not to. Yeah, it is. And really, I don't think there's a correct way to do it. It's either you spend the weekend working and you're like, oh, I got so much done this weekend, but I'm tired and maybe I shouldn't have done that. Or I did absolutely nothing this weekend and I kind of feel guilty and gross about it and I don't feel better. It's just, I don't know. I spent all my time with my kids. Now I'm tired. Spent all my time alone. Now I don't feel good. I don't know. Maybe it's just the human condition that we can't possibly be happy no matter what we do. It's just get used to it. I don't know. Maybe. Is that it? Yummy. Yo, we got a new top clipper. Wordy Girl is the new top clipper. Well done. What I like about the top clipper thing is that it charts it by views. So it has to be a good clip. You can't just clip a million things and, stack up the numbers. It has to be something worth watching. So it's an interesting system. I think someone at the Twitch factory is rubbing their brain cells together, making a little heat, which I appreciate because I think they're coming up with some good ideas. It's good because for a long time it was doom and gloom, man. Doom and gloom. It's just there's no, where everybody's going to be leaving and Twitch is dying and there's no money, blah, 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 blah. And now it feels like there's some life and there's some ideas. Yeah, everybody gets their underwear in a twist whenever they make a change and not everybody likes it all the time, et cetera, et cetera. But you know what? They're trying. It's something. They're coming up with new partnerships. They're coming up with new ideas for them making money and for us having the ability to be more flexible. I like it. I think it's great. The thing I'm looking forward to, not that it's Taco Tuesday, but one of the things I'm looking forward to when it comes to Twitch is they said that they might be able to help or change it so that streamers, we're going to switch this up. That's not the right song. I don't like that one. So that streamers can spend the money out of their account, as in the money like you guys donate or sub here, and then I can use that money to subscribe to other people or to, whatever, buy bits or something. And I think that, to me, that would be really helpful because if unless there was tax implications, which would be a pain, because if it comes in and I get taxed on it and then I spend it and I get taxed on it and then I never actually see that money, but it actually works towards my income and it's just like, that'd be no fun. But if you could just set it aside in a little account that you never get to see or you have to pull out manually or something, and then you can pour that into other streamers, pour that into other creators, into bits, into things like that. I would like that. I think I would do that. I would just say the stuff I make on Twitch, I spend on other streamers because it's a good little budget, and then it wouldn't impact my my end of the year and things like that. It's I think that's cool. I don't know how it's going to work. I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't know what the deal is, but I do know that is kind of exciting, kind of interesting. The other one is they're going to let you set up your own like streamathon times. Like you don't have to do it just during this one season or during this one weekend or whatever, because then everybody does it, right? Because it's like this weekend everybody does, and so there's a ton of competition. And so if you're able to do it when you feel like it, or able to do it when you want to do it, or et cetera, it'll be a lot more. I think a lot more better for the individual streamer. I think they're trying to do a good job. I like liking things. I don't like not liking things. I don't like not complaining about stuff all the time. Hello, Jones. Good to see you, man. I hear you and Quiz hung out. That's fun. Mostly binge reading a webtoon yesterday and played Pokemon Sword. Yeah, so I keep reading articles. Maybe, Quiz, did you get a Switch too? I can't remember. But I keep finding articles, and probably because the algorithm knows I like them because I keep reading them. And this morning it said the remake of Tears of the Kingdom is the reason to buy a Switch 2. And I thought, you do? Okay, so and I'm like, the remake of Tears of the Kingdom is the reason to buy a Switch 2. And I'm like, that's such an odd sentence because it's the same game. They haven't added to it, right? And it's got better graphics, but the graphics don't count if you're on the handheld. That only counts if you're on the 4K, right? Maybe sure you get a few more frames and whatever, but it's not like going to be monumental. But like, in what way? I guess. Chris to be cool IRL. All right, verified. Tall too, right? Big, broad shoulders, long hair. Samson-esque, that Quiz. Buy this new consoles, you can play the same game you played on the old console. Yeah, I mean that's the Nintendo way. Like you just described Nintendo. that's nothing new. It looks so it's substantially better. Yes, not a remake. It's just an upgraded version. Exactly, right? Like they didn't remake it. It's just they added the graphics that people have been doing on PC for the last 4 years. Won't confirm or deny. He is, though. Yeah, it's so I don't know. I haven't seen it. I haven't looked at it. It's not choppy randomly, very vivid, very bright. I hear that there's some complaint though about the actual screen. Like, is it because they didn't do the LED? LED? Or LCD? Whatever. I don't know, whatever the fancy one is. They didn't do the fancy one. They did a previous one, which wasn't as big as an upgrade, and they could have done it, and it would have been better kind of thing. But then that would have cost more. I don't know. And then, of course, the drift. Did you see that there were people who, because of how they were holding the controllers, they kept falling off? Like, just the way that their hands held the controllers. OLED, that's what it was. They kept breaking their controllers off, and they're complaining, to Nintendo, like this is a problem. And Nintendo's like, yeah, but you're holding it wrong. And they're like, I should be able to hold my controllers however I want to hold my controllers without my machine snapping in half. And yeah, they got a point. I guess you got a little bit of a point there. I've heard these complaints, but I never use my Switch. No, you never do. I didn't either for a really long time. Like I stuck in the thing. We played it, Mario Kart. We played it as a family. We played, whatever games on the TV. And I was like, because I like big screens, and I cannot lie. Some other brothers can deny, but when I walk into a game, I don't want no itty bitty thing. I want this big round thing in my face. That's what I want. And if I don't have the big screen, then it's not fun. It's not fun. I like it. Switch 2 Pro, yeah, that's exactly how it's going to go. Exactly how it's going to go. Well, that's what I was going to say. So then I started traveling. Like I was stuck in the basement for years and just doing work and whatever. So then I'm like, okay, I want to go somewhere. And so I click, grabbed the Switch and I took it with me. I had it on the plane and then I had it in the room. I was using it to watch Crunchyroll. I was playing Tears of the King. Or no, what was I playing? Playing something on the airplane. Like I'm like, this is fun. This really, really works. And it's big enough. It's not huge, but it's big enough that it's not like a Game Boy. It's not like playing on your phone. Like I got a little phone. Like it's way bigger than this, right? Like that's bigger than that. If I can play on my phone, then why can't I play on the Switch? And it was fun. I liked it. It's just the hard part for me is try to buckle down and actually play a game. Apparently, and Samus said exactly right last time we were on. She said I like watching games and playing movies, and there aren't a lot of movies to play on the Switch. At least not ones that I know of. Those are all video games. I like watching games. But it's fun to hate the new thing, and then there's some legit complaints about the screen quality that doesn't detract from the whole experience. I mean, and the thing is, it's better, right? And it could they have made it better? Like, oh no, the Switch is $1,000. Well, yeah, because you guys wanted all these bells and whistles and changes and blah blah blah, and that's why. Like, well, I don't like that. Like, of course you don't. It's the same thing with the $80 games. Although it is, you guys talk about, these Americans are like $80 games, and it, yeah, in Canada, like we went and I saw one. I actually saw a Switch 2 in the wild at a Walmart sitting on a shelf. It was just there. I could have bought it if I wanted to. And then I went looking for the game, like how it wasn't the Mario Kart version. I'm like, how much is the Mario Kart? $109. $109 at Walmart. $109.99, I think. And that's just insane to me. You guys have $80 games. We have $110 games. And I didn't really think it through. Like $80 is, a fan of $80 US games, but it just means less games purchased. Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, I'm like, if your $80 is my $109, I can understand why people were getting their nose out of joint. Because in my brain, I was like, well, they're already 60 and you're just adding 20. That's understandable. But they didn't. They added 50, which is a lot more. maybe 40, because it was 69 and then it's 109. So yeah, they added 40. So that's a lot. And on Nintendo, at the very least, you don't get the sales, right? Like if you go to Steam, you're like, I like that game. I'm going to wait until it's 25% off, 50% off, 30% off on Steam, and then I'll go buy it. Which is actually one of the reasons that PlayStation didn't want to play nice with PC, is because that's how PC works, right? They'll see this new game come out, and a bunch of people will jump on, and they'll think it's fun or whatever, and then your average normie goes, yeah, that looked pretty cool. I want to wait till it's on sale. I'm going to wait till it's however many percent off. Like you can get Steam sale right now. There was a game that was crazy cheap. What the heck was it? It was freaking wild. I'm like, that's really, really inexpensive. Supposed to be using my left hand. I'm bad at that though. Oh man, I'm really terrible with my left hand. Summer sale. What was the big one? It was crazy. Yeah, deep discounts. What was it? I was seeing something that was just crazy. Steins Gate? No. Beyond. What was it? It was something really expensive before. And I'm like, that's crazy. And it's like, there's so many games that are 99% off right now that are good games. Like Borderlands 3 apparently was good. I never played it. Little Nightmares 2, $4. At least $4 for me, probably $2 for you. RoboCop, the new RoboCop, that's $7. That's not bad. Gris is $2. That was pretty good. If you haven't played Gris yet, man, $2 is that's a great experience. Guardians of the Galaxy, I think maybe that was what I was thinking of. An $80 game for $8. That's pretty good. Pretty good if you're looking for a game and you haven't played these ones, Good game, but the writing isn't great. So I've been playing Destiny some until my arm fell off because Destiny's wrecked my arm. It bad ergonomics in my own life wrecked my arm via Destiny. So it was a looter shooter. And so I Googled, what other looter shooters are out there that you don't have to that aren't live service and aren't, whatever, that actually have a game to them that you can get to the end of. And the number one was Borderlands. And I'm like, I think it was Jones, me, I want to say Chrono? No, Arcone. Me, Arcone, and somebody else, maybe Quiz. A million years ago, took me through a Borderlands run, and that was back before I knew how to play. game. So I was no fun to play with, and I'm like, that was back when I was, I really didn't like Monster Hunter. I was like, Monster Hunter too hard, and I don't like it. So I'm a different person now. I've grown, I've changed, I've come around to being a basic gamer like y'all who likes things. What's up, Hercule? Good to see you. That's a great name. Hercule, as in Hercules, I assume. But we're gonna be jumping into, let's do it. Let's jump into the topic today. I'm gonna pull up yield. Boop. How close did I get? Oh, so close. Dang. I'm getting better at that. What I should do is I should just work it into my wallpaper. I could just, that way I can line it up easily because it's part of the wallpaper. I could put little marks on the top and the bottom. Oh, he was at the Aki. That's cool. Oh, it was an Aki meetup? Like, as in you went because Aki was there and you were able to meet him? That's cool. That's cool. I could do that, but you guys would make me drive to Toronto and then there'd only be one of you. So I'd have to go down. I think we decided somewhere in Pennsylvania. I think when we said where we're going to do the taco con, somewhere in Pennsylvania was the way to go. All right, we're switching out to some jazz because that's easier to talk over. A lot of fun as well. Good. Far out. Okay, so I'm gonna pray real fast, and then we're gonna jump into it, just because I think this is an important topic. It's something that we can all kind of relate to because we all know men or are one, and probably been affected by this, and so I think it'll be important. So I want some guidance. So let me pray real fast, and we'll jump into it. God, thanks for the day. Thanks for your love. Thanks for the community. Thanks for the blessing to be able to chat about important stuff. I pray that you guide the conversation and help me to be helpful, useful, truthful, and that it would be something profitable and glorifying to you. Amen. We are going to be talking about, I don't know who John Deloney is either, but I've seen more and more clips of him. Basically, it seems like he's a radio psychologist, sort of the Dave Ramsey of psychology, I think. That's my guess based on what I've seen. But he talks about, he's got a really interesting take, I think. It just seems very truthful to me for what it's worth. If for the gut check, he passes the gut check for what it's worth. At least the parts that I've seen. Is he from, oh, well, there you go. Wow. So the vibe was correct. So what we're going to do, we're going to talk about my husband manipulates scripture to gaslight me. Then we're going to talk about why men get so angry. Then we're going to talk about if Satan already knows he's losing, why does he do what he does? And then we're going to talk about the gruff video game man is a real person. Might want to switch those two around, actually. But we'll see. Cool. And like, this is always an AMA. Feel free to interrupt along the way. It absolutely is cool if you do that. All right, let me pause. I'm going to put my headphones on. I can hear better. Put headphones on. Not to be confused with John Delaney, which is a completely different person. Okay, headphones go. Okay, let's do this thing. I'll put pause, and we'll jump right in.
How do I respond to my husband when he demands submission?
What?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I guess a little background.
So just I'm going to react in the first 18 seconds. You heard that? Like, listen to her voice when he says what, like that. Yeah. Like, there's a lot in that. Yeah, there's exasperation, and there's sadness, and there's embarrassment, and there's so much happening in that. Yeah, like, she's just like, I've been dealing with it. I've been dealing with it for so long. I've talked about this and haven't gotten any help. And yeah, it's critical and crippling and hurtful and whatever. Like, there's a lot in that. Yeah, just listen to it again. If you guys can you guys hear it? and make sure that I got it turned up for you. How's that? Is that better?
How do I respond to my husband when he demands submission?
What?
Yeah.
What does that
so
mean?
I guess a little background, I guess. We've been married for almost 3 years. And since we've gotten married, he's often used the Bible verses about wives submit to your husbands and everything to end our arguments. My faith is really important to me.
My guy's got the right reaction. Head to desk. What is wrong? Like, yeah. So I think the reason his head's on the desk, and if he's a good godly man, which I based on, if he is a Dave Ramsey guy, probably is a good godly guy. And that is to me anyway, the exasperation from the side of the teacher, from the side of the person who is given the advice, is there's so much, right? Man, I have dealt with this so many times before. How are guys not getting this yet? I know what this woman is going through, and I know how miserable this guy is to be with. Also, how can this guy use scripture, any of these Bible verses, to defend what he's doing to his wife abusively? Clearly, he doesn't know the Bible well, and he's using scripture, using certain verses that he likes in order to hurt his bride. There's like, that's so, and I think the head goes down, like, that is so not Jesus. That is so not the Bible. That is so not good. That is so not marriage. That is so like, and how are guys not getting this? And how do you defend it scripturally? You can't. But for some reason, these tools just feel like they've got 2 or 3 verses. And she said, she didn't say like, and she uses it to, make me do a bunch of work around the house. Well, maybe he does, but it's like to end conversations. Just like submit. And I'm like, that's not you. All you're doing is you're crushing that relationship to death, man. There's nothing coming back if you cannot communicate. It's just, you're going to destroy it. I always love this guy from the stuff I've seen. He's understanding and kind to people who call, who are hurting or properly teaching to the ones who cause damage. Yeah, the shutdown. I mean, that's it, right? It's just like, boom, don't talk. That's it. You're toast. Yeah, exactly. Right, exactly. So, be Jesus. It's so hard. like, yeah. So here's the verse. Yeah, I would get around to this eventually too, right? Is that husband love your wives just as Christ loved the church, and he gave himself up for her, that he might sanctify her. In other words, make her better, make her feel better, know better, love better, understand better, feel more loved, feel more safe, feel more protected. More holy, more connected to God, each other, living a better life, having cleansed her by washing her water with the word, as in working really hard to make her life godly, and not in a violent way. At no point did Jesus be like, now that you're my bride, I'm going to smack you until you're a good person. That's not how he worked. Yeah, man, just love the church. And it's not like, how did Jesus treat the church? That's your answer. How did Jesus treat the church? With grace, man. Truth, certainly. He held the line. He's not going to bend the truth. He's not going to bend himself. He's not going to bend an argument. He'd be like, oh, it's fine. I'm just going to pretend that's not a big deal. He's still truthful. But what he's not is a big dumb jerk about it. So far, he said his faith is important to her. She said faith is important to her. We don't even know if he is an actual Christian, just using faith against her. True enough. We kind of know he isn't. Well, he isn't. Well, that's it, right? So there are certainly guys who will go to church and they'll hear this stuff. Promise Keepers. Not that Promise Keepers is bad. I keep using it as a bad example. But what Promise Keepers teaches can easily be misunderstood by people who only listen to part of it. You know what I mean? It's like those guys that, they go and they get told how to work out or how to fix something, or how to build something, and or they look at the first two instructions in the IKEA box and they're like, I can take it from here. And then they completely bung it up and they wreck something, hurt themselves, it falls apart. And they're like, this is such a stupid system. Nothing, that person didn't know what they were talking about. Like, no, you took 10% of what you thought and then assumed the rest and got yourself in trouble. Right. So you can do that with Promise Keeper stuff too. Like, it's with anything for that matter. I will think husbands take a huge part of that out because it's hard. the wife should submit, of course. I mean, it's what does submit mean, though? And the thing is, if maybe you shoot me in the fine, but I'll say it. If you are Jesus to your wife, right? If that's how, if when she sees you, she sees the love of Christ in you oozing out of every pore, and it trusts you that much and knows that you are that on her side, and love her that much and sacrifices yourself for that much, and wants the best for her in every way, then submission isn't hard. Right. The reason that we submit ourselves to Jesus as Christians, especially, is we go, he's not wrong. Right. Like every time I look through his word, every time I listen to what he, what he wants, every time his spirit prompts me, it's always for my good. Yeah, it might suck sometimes. It might be really difficult sometimes. I might have to humble myself sometimes, but it's always better. And so if the wife talking to the guy, the husband, and every time they speak, it's works out in her favor, and she always knows he's on her side, then yeah, to be like, yeah, probably, that's where it's so much easier. The guy's legs must be swole from jumping to conclusions. Yeah. I know he knows better than me. Well, that's it, right? He does. And so therefore, and that's the idea, is that not that you are Jesus in that you know better than women, but you are Jesus in that you have the best intentions and that you love them sacrificially. That's what that means. So again, there's the jumping, right? So you go, if I say, be Jesus to them, and it's like, well, Jesus is in charge. Jesus is the head of the church. Jesus is the one that everybody must submit to. He's the one who, has the rod and the staff. He's the one that in the end, all knees will bow. Every tongue will confess that he's a good husband, and whether they like it or not, nope. It's close, but no, you missed it by a mile. That trajectory took you away from where you were supposed to go.
So it feels like a trump card has been played when he does this, and I just shut down.
Yeah, it's like taking a Bible and hitting you in the mouth with it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then blaming you for bleeding on the pages.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
All right, give me an example.
So recently, I guess I brought up my need for a bit more contribution around the house, and this devolved into an hours-long.
Okay, so what translated... hey man, I'm doing all the work around here and you're not, right? As in she's doing the housework, and maybe she even has a job. We'll find out, but like it's just like, that's it. Can you help me more? Can you take some of this burden from me? I am currently feeling weak and you are stronger. Can you help? Like that's can you load the exactly? It's not like she's like, I need you to radically alter your personality. I need you to, go and make $1 million because I don't want to sit around. I need a maid. Like she's just saying, basically, dude, I need your help around the house because there's a lot going on, and you don't seem to be pulling your weight. And he's gonna, this guy's gonna be like, well, my mother, like, that's not necessarily just because that's the way you grew up doesn't mean that was right, Yeah, it's tough, man. It's I know that there's a lot of women in my stream, and I'm like, just scroll through here. Let's see, yeah, woman, and then the Quiz King, who's a manly man, and it's like there's just a lot going on. And I get that from your side, like I've only been on the husband side, obviously, but from your side, especially being smaller, right? Generally weaker. And generally, someone who like when we walk down the road and, as a guy, especially, guy my size kind of thing, like I'm not worried that someone's going to come up and knock me into the street or someone take my stuff because I'm generally, bigger than most. And that's not true of most women. And so therefore there is an added level, and whether you like it or not, there's an added level of intimidation factor between guy to man to female simply because of the size, just the way it is. Like, so when the guy gets angry and upset, there might be no thought in his head that violence is going to occur, right? No thought. And yet at the same time, when the anger comes out, the knowledge that that person could, snap you in half if they felt like it, like it's there regardless of how you want it. And especially when that person looks out of control. Like it's just, yeah, it's an added factor. It's just part of it. the last thing you want is fear in a married couple or parent-child relationship or whatever, right? Like when we say we fear God, which we're saying we fear Jesus, it's not a terrified, scared, go hide around the corner. Gee, I hope he doesn't find me. If he figures out who I am and what I've done, he's it's going to be bad. Fear. It is respect. It is, you know what? I don't want to offend that person. I don't want to bring bad reputation to that person. I don't want to have to face that person knowing he told me what to do and that I'm gonna, it's respect. He gets the top billing in our life, in everything. It's not a terrified fear. Christians aren't terrified of God, even though we have a fear of him. Me with my dad. Okay, see, bummer.
Long argument where he ended up reading these verses to me off of his phone.
Oh my gosh.
And I don't know what else to do.
Oh, wow. Can you imagine? I don't know. Maybe you can. And I apologize if you can, that, like you're sitting there having a conversation. Hey man, hey honey, can you help around the house more? Like I want to have a conversation about, I need you to do some stuff around here, and he whips out his phone and starts reading Bible verses about women submitting to the husband, which, by the way, have nothing to do with who mops the floor and who cleans the bathroom. That's not even in there, man. Like, did he have these saved? He's just waiting for it. I had these bookmarked. I knew she was going to ask me to fill the dishwasher one day. Yeah. Well, not just like a child, but like an idiot, or like someone who is so deeply wrong, or that they've offended, or that she's sinful for asking him to do that. I don't know what's going. Like, I don't know the full context, obviously, but you can tell a dude who whips out his phone to read Bible verses about his wife submitting to him after she asks him to help with the chores. That guy's wrong. They've only been married 3 years. Right. So I don't know how long they were dating. Obviously, I don't know how long they knew each other for. Presumably it was a Christian marriage, right? As in, like, they both thought each other was Christian. They both thought this is where God wants you to go. And so at the end, you don't know, maybe she got saved later or he got saved later. But you think the idea is we're in this together. And when you find out that the other person isn't in this with you, in fact, not only are they not in it with you, they think that you work for them. They think that your life exists to make them feel better. Your life exists to serve them. Like, this is a way for him to I don't know, feel like a real man, or impress his friends, or finally be lazy or whatever. It's just, that's awful. Doesn't know anything. Yeah.
So you said, hey. And by the way, let's take away the word need. I think that's a way we can drown each other. You said, hey, I want some help.
So the husband may have gotten involved in the wrong crowd online to sway this thinking this way. And there are so many. Yeah. There's so many places online that you can go. Well, you go to any kind of forum or whatever. And you got to remember, and this is something I try to teach everybody, and when you read an online poll, when you go to an online forum, whatever, you're talking to internet people. Right? It's not everybody who thinks like this. It is people who A, contribute to forums online, who B, are willing to read that stuff, C, are willing to have an opinion strong enough that they actually want to type it out, and that communicate usually via the internet. Like, it's like when CNN does a poll, that is answered by people who answer CNN polls, which is a certain kind of person. Right? Or if you find a Reddit thread, that is a certain kind of person. Or if you go to some blog where some guy is, talking about this stuff, that's a certain kind of person. Like, it's not everybody who thinks this. You are now in a microcosm, a subgroup, right, of internet people, which does not represent the whole. People who aren't busy teaching theology or running a church, right? Yeah. I had to distance myself from some female forum for a while too, the world, and typically man-hating to a fair extent. So I actually had this in a previous church of mine where we did small groups, right? And the idea of a small group is that you get together, you enjoy each other's company, you fellowship together, you learn together, you serve together, you support one another. Like it's a thing. And the idea is meant to be diverse, right? You want male and female, you want single and married, you want younger people and older people. Like you want them all kind of doing life together. That's the best version of it. But what ended up happening is this one group. One small group, it became only divorced women, and my brain was already like, that sounds like a bad idea. But they weren't a divorced women group; they were a small group. And someone went in there as they were a non. I think how it worked is they weren't divorced, or they thought it was a women's group or doing over there. And it was just nonstop man bashing for the entire time. And it was just because you get a bunch of people in the room. And they're going to talk about their own stuff and affirm one another. And it ends up either being the highest level, they raise each other up, or they drag each other down. That's just how groups go. And in that group, they were dragging each other down into just hating guys because guys are the worst, which is not hard to do, right? Especially when you all have negative experiences with guys to the point where you end up divorced. There's going to be a lot of common ground. But generally speaking, that's not where you're elevating each other to the place where you're going, let's all figure out a way that we can get better from this and become more healthy and figure this all out, as opposed to let's all just sit around and make each other feel better through a mutual misery society.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, like, do you have kids? I mean, what kind of help do you need, or do you want?
No kids.
Okay.
No kids, but that is another reason why I'm calling. That's definitely a hot topic at the moment. But I kind of feel like I do a bit more than my fair share, I guess. Well, he's playing video games.
Oof.
And so I say, hey, can you vacuum or can you take out the trash? And the argument will devolve into, well, you can quit your job and then you won't have anything to complain about anymore.
She does work. I'm glad I'm not John Deloney. I wouldn't do well at this. It makes me mad. It makes me mad and sad and frustrated and on behalf of that woman, does the guy right? Like, where does he work? Yeah, exactly. What does he do? And it doesn't matter. Like, she comes home and she also does all the work. And then when she's like, can you please take out the garbage? He pulls out his phone and reads the Bible while holding a game controller. Like, yeah, that's not a good guy. Not a good guy. Yeah, he's telling her to quit her job. And yeah, hopefully that, yeah.
And then as arguments continue,
is this for real? This is a real dude?
Yes.
He pauses his video game to look over his shoulder at you and then grabs his phone and reads Bible verses about how you should submit to him?
Yeah, and sometimes the video game isn't even paused. I wish I were joking.
That's not funny anymore.
I literally am out of words. Right?
Like it was at the beginning, it was sort of nervous laughter at the, it was like, oh, wow, that's so ridiculous. Ha ha ha. That statement and the stuff you're hearing in her voice, right, suddenly became not funny anymore. And it's not funny anymore. Like it is affecting my heart, making me sad, right? There's not nervous laughter anymore. Like you can see it just kind of, the vibe changed immediately. Yes, this guy is real and it's worse than you think, right? Ukulele defending the online games. Wait, hold on. What if it's a live show? What if it's a game we can't pause? Come on. Kind of like ukulele on the side of the gamers, everybody. That's what we want. We want at least one woman who's like, but the gamer. No, I think that's what you were saying exactly, was you were defending the gamers. I think that's great. That's great. We need women like you too, who understand some games can't be paused, man. Oh, you mean like over the headset? Oh, okay. Also, that's bad too.
Yeah,
yeah, man. You tell her, right?
Oh my gosh. I mean, this isn't about me. How can I help?
Well,
I mean, this is an insane situation.
It's so stereotypical. It sounds fiction.
I won't, speak about him necessarily, but I feel very dismissed. I'm feeling unvalued.
Wait, why? Just because he plays video games and hits you in the face with the Bible, and he doesn't help, and you wash his underwear, and you work full time, and you why in the world would you feel dismissed?
It's kind of it feels like a gender game is being played a lot of the time, and I see there's certainly merit in that. We are meant to complement each other.
Hold on, no, don't do that. Please don't do that.
Okay.
This is a gender game. This is not a scripture game. Because the other part of that talks about die for your wife.
Yes. So that again, he uses scripture. He obviously this is not the first time he's spoken these words in submission or whatever. And so she is trying to also apply scripture, right? So she's like, I do want to be biblical, and I do want to be right in this way. I do want to be someone who follows what God wants, and therefore it's weird to me. And that part, sort of the undercurrent, and I'm gonna assume some stuff, but like part of the undercurrent is this what God wants? Is this what God wants for marriage? Is it me? Right? Is it just me? And I need to suck this up because this is actually how it's supposed to go, and God said so? Or am I off here? Right. And so that's why he stopped her immediately was, no, you're not applying that scripture correctly in that, at no point is it God wants you to be part of an abusive relationship where you're supposed to, fill in all this guy's gaps, especially when he's a amorphous blob of stupid. You're not going to be able to fill in much. You can't be the whole skeleton. Yeah. Yeah. Really good at using the words you want to describe this guy. Well, and it's so what's interesting when it comes to the scripture stuff is like you walk away with if you just take the Bible out of context and you want some, then yeah, you're going to be able to make all kinds of horrible things. But that's not the way it is. Like there are some really hard things that God asks you to do, like forgive people that don't ask for forgiveness, like loving your enemies, doing good to those who persecute you, turning the other cheek, right? Sticking with people in a group that is just super horrible because the right thing to do is you're supposed to, lead them or help them or serve them or whatever. Or like there's all kinds of stuff that is really hard to do in the Bible and personally and spiritually, but it's not ever meant to be something where you are like in a marriage where you're just like, okay, I'll just take the abuse. Okay, I'll just take the, and it's not leading to anywhere. It's not me trying to, fix the situation kind of thing. God doesn't condone abuse. You don't see it. He allows for abusive situations to have divorce. He allows for situations like in cheating or where the person's like, you're a Christian and I hate you, so get lost. That's, you're allowed to divorce, right? But it's not, yeah. Sometimes it is really hard to do Bible stuff and it's really emotionally tumultuous. That's true, but this is not the case. It could be, it could be that, the God goes, I want you to stick with this guy because in your grace and your grace to him, I'm doing something and I'm going to be working on his heart and you need to be an example for him. But it could equally be that if this guy is abusive, not just a tool, like there's a difference between being an absolute tool and being abusive. That's not necessarily the same. It sucks for her, but it's something you can try to write out and get counseling for and help in at the other side. He can get better, as opposed to, this guy is abusive and horrible or physical or violent or whatever, and you can't ride that out. That's not going to work. I do this in situations. I feel like in my own situations, maybe I should have been better wife or not asked for so much help. Been more submissive. I deserve awful things now. Yeah. Let's talk about that in a sec. Hello. Good to see you. Big KB. Well, hello, new friend. Motivational Monday. Hey, let's go. You're doing Motivational Monday too? What am I doing? What did I call it? I'm calling it Maturity Monday. Yeah, so it's completely the same, but totally different. What were you talking about today? Far out, man. Good afternoon, hello, my new friend. Good to see you. I don't recognize your name, so I apologize if we've met before. My bad. Thank you, Big Buck. I appreciate it. Thanks for the raid, man. I appreciate you coming in. We're having a big talk. Yo, I'm watching you people. How you doing? Good to see you. I'll push play on the music while we yammer. Hello, lady. Hello, Mo. Good to see you guys. Thanks for coming in. We do GMB church service. I know what that means. Game or something. I can't remember what GMB stands for. I've got Good Morning Bible in my head, and I don't think that's what it's called. Welcome. Glad you're here. So what we're doing today, if you look at this, so here's the story. Okay. I was a gamer, back in the day. I played games on the internet for about 4 years, and then I would try to talk in between, do that kind of stuff. God's many blessings. Oh, sick. That's cool. All right. If that's an acronym, I did not know it. I apologize. And then about I don't know, 4 months ago, after driving too much and playing Destiny 2 so much, my arm stopped working. Kind of wrecked my elbow. Was a whole thing. And because of that, I've had to adjust my content to be a lot more talk-based because I can't use a mouse or a controller very well. And so what we've been doing over the last couple of weeks here is talking, just basically like theming a whole day or going through new stuff. Each day is different. Maturity Monday and then Taco Tuesday. I'm the executive director of the Alliance for Creative Outreach, which is a network of Christian content creators. We train Christian content creators, help them out, bring them together, support them, love them, do what we can for them because there's not a lot of support out there for them. I'm the guy that kind of started it-ish, and we got a whole board and we got a whole situation. It's great. I love it. And I'm also a full-time streamer. So that's what I do here, full-time content creation. I'm a legit licensed pastor with the Alliance denomination, their only digital pastor, and I'm working hard to try to bridge the gap between traditional and digital ministry. That's what I do here. And so now we're doing a lot of talking. We're talking about all kinds of stuff. And today we're talking about anger, men and anger. Appreciate the follows, guys. I really, really, it means a lot. What do you do? Before I jump back into this thing, what do you do? I'm looking at the shout out we got here. You got a lot of stuff. Cool. GMB service. So far out. Shift the atmosphere. Oh, I like that. Shift the atmosphere. Very cool. Great topic because I've had struggles with that. I think a lot of people do. So to kind of summarize where we are right now, this is John Deloney, which apparently he works with Dave Ramsey. I didn't know that, but that's cool. He's we're talking about a woman who called in and said, basically, my husband is a video game playing lazy tool who sits there and quotes Bible verses about submission to me whenever I ask him to take out the garbage. And it's kind of the worst. And then he called in here to get some advice. And this guy's advice so far has just been, are you kidding? Is this even real? You know what I mean? Like, it's that bad. And so we're getting to we haven't even got to the advice yet. We're like 3 minutes and 43 seconds in. Haven't even got to the advice yet. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that is. But we're going to be covering a few different things. Psychology today, why men get so angry. If Satan knows where he's going, why does he keep fighting? And then we're going to talk about Death Stranding, sort of the personality of the guy in Death Stranding 2. So we got a whole theme today on grumpy men. So yeah, I think it's something a lot of us have struggled with, whether it be bad dad, rough dad, or friends, or abusive leader, or boss, or anger in ourselves. It's something we all deal with. So thank you. I appreciate you coming by. Thank you so much for the raid. Very cool of you. We're gonna jump back in, so hopefully you'll be able to catch up. But that's where we're at.
Put down the video game controller and help her.
I'll back up a little bit.
Compliment each other.
Like, why in the world would you feel dismissed?
It's kind of it feels like a gender game is being played a lot of the time. And I see, there's certainly merit in that. We are meant to compliment each other.
Hold on. No. Don't do that. Please don't do that.
Okay.
This is not a gender game. This is not a scripture game. Because the other part of that talks about die for your wife. Put down the video game controller and help her while she melts in front of you. That is not a verse about you get a lifetime maid and sexual slave. That does not mean you win every argument about where you're going to go eat and what you're going to do with the kids and what your wife's hair is going to look like. At all.
The reason those are examples, we talked about, like you get a live-in maid and, live-in sex slave and you get to tell her how to dress and what she does, is because that is legitimately some of the things that men have used that Bible verse for. And man, whenever you use the scriptures for abuse and whatnot, it's demonic. It's demonic. It's actually satanic. When you use the scripture in order to hurt people, right? You're doing what what Satan was doing to Jesus in the desert, right? Just kind of trying to quote scripture to make something bad happen, and it's satanic, and that's horrible.
That's such a disgusting, gross misrepresentation of what that talks about. It's abusive the way that's used. And here's why it's abusive, because you're bound inside of a faith context, right? Mm-hmm. And you're not leaving that faith context. And so inside those walls, he's taking this Bible and he's beating you over the head with it and saying, you do what I say. While he's sitting there eating Cheetos, playing video games. Jeez, dude. It's like a, this is one of those dudes that, like, when I'm talking to people out in the public sphere and we're having a good-natured debate or a not good-natured debate, this is the guy they bring up, and I say, that's not real. Nobody's like that. And you're like, no, I married him.
See so many women who say things and it's awful. Married 30 years and this is how the Christian husband treats them. Yeah, and they've just they've fought to get to the point where it's like, listen, I'm not going to divorce. I have no like scriptural cause for divorce. As in like he's not abusive. He's not like whatever. He's just an absolute a-hole, and that's kind of the worst. It's at least not it's not traditional abuse, as in like I'm not getting beat up kind of thing. It's just emotional and and the intel and financial and every other kind of abuse. Yeah. But it's like, and so they just kind of deal and they learn how to work around it, which what a terrible, terrible marriage to have to work around your spouse all the time. Right. Yeah. I want to get something done. So I can't tell him, I want to be able to do something enjoyable for myself, but so I need to like have a secret account, or I need to, fib in some way, or I need to keep him secret, or tiptoe around him. Like when he comes home, my entire countenance changes. Like it just, all of that stuff is horrible. That's what I say. If you are ever, one of the ways that you can see whether or not you're a problem is what happens when you walk into a room, what happens when you come home. There's dudes out there that, they come home from a day's work and their kids come running. It's like, yeah, dad's home, dog pile. And it's a good thing. The wife comes in, gives them a kiss and is like, well, hey, how you doing? And then that's the thing. If they walk in and everybody just gets quiet and, scatters, everybody's in their room, you always walk in and people are busy. The kids are busy and then wife's busy or whatever. I'm so glad that they're busy because, I'm home from work and I don't want to talk to anybody. That's probably a problem. That's probably a problem because you are, like people aren't drawn, like your family, the people who are supposed to love you the most aren't drawn to you. They're away from you. That's a bad thing. Yeah, it does. It speaks volumes. The good, Little Spark. Good to see you, Spark. How you doing? I hope you're well. I hope you're healed well. Are you healthy now? I know that things were a little touch and go there last time we talked, which is a long time ago, and your baby's probably like 5 years old by now because babies grow so fast. But I hope you're well. Repercussions for men that are Christian and leaders of the household are far worse when they know scripture and use it to destroy the gift God gave. Absolutely. It's almost like the teacher thing. Like you'll be treated, you got to be careful when you want to be a teacher because you'll get doubly judged, right? Part of that is you'll be judged by people and you'll be judged by God, but also because the repercussions of what you say and what you teach, and the network effect that it has, and the ripple effect it has. You're going to be judged by all that too. Like, it's a big deal. So yeah, sort of similar in that if you're a terrible dad and a terrible representation of Jesus and terrible representation of God the Father to your family, which is just that one of the reasons that we have, it's really hard for kids to become Christians is because they have such a bad relationship with their dad. And they're like, well, if that's how dads are and that's how fathers are, and my dad was, like supposed to, a Christian dad, then I don't want anything to do with God, because that's how God is just the worst, because I've seen him in my father, and that's not the God I want to worship. And it just makes it really, really hard for them to perceive God as a good dad, as an Abba, as or Jesus as a good brother, or Jesus as a good friend, because they just don't have a framework for that. And if they do become Christian, it's usually they see Jesus as Lord and God as judge, and so therefore, because they can get their head wrapped around that, not Jesus as friend, God as father. Big Buck Fan said, yeah, scripture too. God is, yeah, it's not even hard to see, man. Like, God is love. Like, go to church for 5 seconds. God is love. Jesus is forgiving. He's long suffering and patient. And yeah, go read the fruit of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness. Come on, man. Not even that hard. Yep, I was this woman. I feel so sad for her. I thought, thankfully, God brought me out of that marriage and gave me to a man that truly fears God. Amen. It kind of stirs up bitterness over my past relationship attempt. So she went for a guy that does all the Christian things, but really was just emotionally abusing her. Many days I wish I had done better to win her over instead. So there are women out there, and I've known some that they so want to love God. They so want to obey him that, and in their framework, their structure for how God is, it's like you do what God wants and doesn't matter, because sometimes God asks you to do hard stuff, and that's just the way it is. And so when the guy or, pastor or whatever goes, this is what the Bible says, they don't know, because they maybe they do Christian, maybe because they didn't study, maybe they're just not, that particularly good at language or whatever. And so they're like, well, if that's what God wants, I guess, even though it sucks and it goes against my conscience and, like it doesn't feel right. And I've got people warning me against it and whatever, but, there's a verse, I guess I got to do it. And it ends up being that they are trying to obey God and trying to love God, trying to serve God, trying to, in a real way. But they've been manipulated, and there obviously is a lot of movies about that where you've got, I think my brain is like The Handmaid's Tale. I've never seen it, but like the idea of there being a Christian authority figure who's twisting the scriptures, but nobody, knows better than him because he controls. That's a cult. I'm describing a cult because he, he doesn't let anybody study, and all the books are from him and whatever. It's same thing with some homeschoolers. Right? No internet, no movies, no books other than whatever. And they're talking about how they're, raising their kid in the way they should go. And really, it's all through this lens where this guy is in control. This guy is not being a good dad. It's yeah. Yep. End up moving out because of the abusive home and down towards my family. Yeah, that sucks. I'm glad you're out. Don't it? Look at you being all chatty and smart. Listen, I can do one or the other. You get one or the other. I can talk or be smart. I as soon as I open my mouth, the smart stops. You got to be careful. It's so hard to work through that. Sorry, I can look at this camera now. Hey, it's so hard to work through that, but God has a plan. That's why it's so important to ask God if this is who he has for you, because he values the covenant of marriage so much, but it's not your job to protect her because she's not yours. And that's a hard pill to swallow. It all boils down to trusting God for that reason. It does. But at the same time, I think one of the things that's kind of missing from your, the text that you sent, that was one idea, is the community. One of the things that they've romanticized in a Western culture anyway is feelings. I'm not going to go down because we all talk about that. Like basically, if your feelings, then it must be okay. So go do what you want. But if it's also sort of the Romeo and Juliet where if your parents are against it, your friends are against it and whatever, it's like, oh, we're fighting for our love and it must be true because I'm working so hard to get, it could be that you are completely being manipulated or you're completely wrong. Your emotions are out of whack. And that's why your community's throwing up red flags. And you should be listening to those. If you go through pastoral counseling for premarital counseling, one of the things that you'll see is that they'll be like, okay, we're going to go talk to your parents, right? That's part of it, at least in a good one. In fact, if you look at my marriage, not contract, whatever, the thing that you have to read and agree to before I'll even consider marrying you, right in there is like your parents should be cool with the marriage. Not always, right? So there are exceptions. Sometimes you're escaping abusive situations or your parents are, cultists or all kinds of reasons. But anyway, but generally speaking, like if I'm going to marry you, I need to know that your community is cool with that, because you can lie to me as a pastor. You can be like, oh, he's the greatest. And there's a reason why I don't talk to my parents and he doesn't talk to his parents and none of our friends are cool with that and why we're getting married and we don't really know anybody that's in the marriage. We just really want to get married and like, okay. But I want to know. I want to know what the community thinks too, because that's a fantastic way to find out where the couple's heart is at. And if you've got people that are like, he's kind of a tool, actually, he's kind of a jerk, and he's kind of frustrating, and he's really hard to talk to, and he's, he doesn't have a good reputation in church, and he's been a Christian for a little while, and he just seems really into, like kind of whoop 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 whoop. Trying to, but I'm also at the point not sure if I care to be married, mostly because I don't have a charming or romantic personality. You don't need one. You don't need a charming or romantic personality to be married. That's not how that works, right? It's I kind of get what you mean. Like the attractional nature of what gets women to kind of go, hey, what's going on over there with the dude? Some dudes struggle with that one, but that doesn't mean it's impossible. It just means that your level of attraction is going to be different to different kind of women. This is the way it is. But that's the different topic for a different day. Stubbornness is such a struggle. Yeah. And especially when you got the Romeo and Juliet stuff in your brain where you're like, man, I really do. This must be love because we're having to work so hard for it. Actually that might be infatuation, which is different. Definitely important to decide that before you date or marry. Try not to be funny, but serious, because I've seen many people figure out after marriage that maybe they're supposed to be alone. Well, not just alone, but maybe, not supposed to be alone, but definitely with the wrong person. You know what I mean? Like they were supposed to be, they needed to work on themselves a lot more. I think I just gave this advice to somebody recently in a stream where I said, I know. Yeah. Right now you should not be dating anybody because you've got some stuff in your brain that is doing things wrong. You've got like your perspective of yourself, your perspective on sex, your perspective on relationship, your perspective on your needs and your value. It's all whacked out, man. It's all whacked out. So you need to work on yourself because you're not going to attract the right guys, and the guys that you're going to choose that are going to feel right aren't going to be. And you need to like back off and start working on yourself, on who you are and who God created you to be, and what you need in a partner, and who and what marriage is for, and all that stuff. Like, you got to work on some stuff. Don't go jumping into another relationship, especially since she came onto the stream and her last two relationships were just really not good. Like, they were not good for her. They were not good dudes. It was all bad. It's like, you just push pause, man. But there's so many people out there, women and men, that are so desperate to be in a relationship, so desperate to feel loved because they're lonely, because they're sad, because they need to escape. They don't even care who they're with. My nose is itchy. Sorry. They don't care who they're with. They just want to escape loneliness. They want to escape their parents. They want to escape their situation. They want to escape the financial stuff, or being afraid all the time. And they think that if they could just get married, it'll all go away. And so they just la their way through into a relationship, and it ends up not being better. It's just different, worse, different bad. Is it possible to know that the one you're dating is the one within a few months? I think so. I mean, like the one. So I would think that if you are 18 years old and you are dating, you don't know yourself very good. You don't know your future very good. You don't know, like, there's a lot that you're still working through. You're still developing, right? You're still, you look like a chocolate chip cookie in the oven. They can tell it's a chocolate chip cookie. Don't look like a ball of dough. But at the same time, you pull that thing out, it's just going to be goop. So you're still not ready yet. But you definitely looking a lot more like a chocolate chip cookie than you were when you went in the oven. So that's a good thing. So I would say that you need a lot more community input, a lot more input from wiser people and whatever. That's a good thing. However, if you're, 30s kind of thing, and you are, you know who you are, you've dated some folks, you've been that's a stupid toy. Okay, yeah. So sometimes the cookies take a little longer. So you know yourself a little bit better. You are you've dated a few dudes or whatever, and you kind of figured out what you do, what you like, what you don't like, who you are. You have a bit more of a confidence. You know who you want to serve. You got a perspective on marriage just a little bit better. You've done some of the reading. You've seen some bad examples in your life, kind of thing. I think you could probably be a better guesser. I still think it requires a lot of prayer. I think it requires a lot of talking to that person. Like, what do you think of, and what do you think of this? And let's have some real conversations. Maybe not in the first month, because that might, weird him out and it's not appropriate yet. But if you're both kind of vibing so hard, you're thinking about it, having those tough conversations is important, especially since one of the things that can come with, later aged dating is you're so desperate to find the one that you're willing to overlook a lot of stuff because they check, half the boxes. Right. Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Get advice. Be with the community. Get some wisdom in your life. Because if they check half the boxes and you're like, okay, well, that's half. That's more than most. I'm gonna, Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Right. And so you kind of compromise. Now, that being said, if you're like, this is so funny because if your list of check boxes can be really, really long, and some of it's really unnecessary, right? Like handsome was on there when you were 18. He needs to be striking, tall, dark, and handsome kind of thing. Well, later in life, you're like, well, I don't need him to be handsome. I just need him to be, not a slob. I need him to take care of himself, which you can do with a dad bod, which you can do with, like some guy who's not necessarily the most handsome dude, but what does he check all the boxes for character? Right. So maybe your list is too long. Maybe there's some stuff you can throw out, but there's certain ones you shouldn't. And, yeah. So can is he trainable? Yeah, exactly. Well, teachable. The word is teachable, right? Is he a learner? I think that should be on everybody's list of good friends. I'm a dad barrel. Yeah. Not a dad bod, but a dad barrel. My nose is so itchy. I will not stick it up my nose on camera, but I will in the corner. Hashtag I can fix them. They used to use handsome for women, so that's a thing. A handsome woman doesn't, certain kind. But yeah, if that should be on everybody's list. Is he teachable? I thought I did. Maybe it's an errant one. Maybe it's one grown in. If he's teachable, then he's changeable, right? If he's settled, though, like this dude that we're talking about here probably stopped reading any book that isn't in his own opinion or favorite 3 authors quite some time ago, right? He just like, I listen to these 3 guys and that's it. That's all of life, And yeah, not teachable. Hopefully he will be, though.
There's obviously really wonderful qualities about him. He works extremely hard. He's very successful. But that's great on paper until it comes time to talk about emotions, and that can be really difficult.
We're not even talking about emotions. We're talking about, hey, can we do life together? No, submit.
Yeah. And then add in the whole pressure to have kids very soon, and
I'm sure I
feel a bit stuck.
Ripped off some Bible verses out of context to make you feel bad about that one too. Yeah,
yep.
I don't know, but I don't know how you're gonna feel stuck. I mean, you get to choose what happens next.
Quiz has a good point, right? He's lazy, not making the effort at home in the relationship. That's learning, right? That's learning. Good to see you, Zach. Thanks for the sub and thanks for showing up. Appreciate it. So yeah, he's like, is he learning? Is he able to? And if the answer is no, he's lazy, not making any effort, and he's settled, right? When he got married, he was like, got it. If I had to guess, I will throw this out there because I think it's probably true. He's an industrial type guy, an industrious guy who works hard, has leadership capabilities, and I bet that woman is physically attractive. Like, actually is just a really attractive lady, good Christian woman. And he was at church because that's what you're supposed to do. You go to church. That's where you get your business stuff. That's where you get your connections. That's where good people go. And it was assuaging some of the guilt that he had. So he felt a little bit better because he's around better people. And then he found a really beautiful girl and went, you know what? That one's going to make me look good. I'm gonna go go try to figure that one out. And then narcissistically decided that he would go into, gaslight her into believing that, this is the way that it is. And, he can hold it together for so long until he traps her into a marriage and finally was able to come be himself. Like, that's real. That's a thing that some people do. And it's bad. It's bad. Yeah. Got married, stopped pursuing. Well, or literally wanted the trophy wife, like literally wanted the wife that had nothing to do with him loving her, him serving her, him, like, how can I be Jesus to her, or for that matter, that we are partners now, or we're working together. Together, we are the proper image of God, kind of thing. Like, none of that stuff. Just basically, she's going to make me look good. She's going to make my life easier. She's going to make it so that I can work harder and I don't have to cook or clean anymore. So that means I can go make more money. I can go do more stuff. I can, I've earned the right. And it's just, I think he walked in there with that intention. And whether he lied to himself or lied to her or whatever, it was a huge, yeah. And the question is, how did she get caught in it, right? What's her side of this? What's his side of the story? How did she get caught in it? As in, like, why wouldn't her alarms going off? And if they did go off, why did she ignore them? Don't know. What's his side of the story? Talked to the woman the other day going through divorce. And she called him many things, and her evidence didn't support her claims. Need both sides. I don't disagree with you. We only have one side, right? Only have one side. But it's really hard to defend the side of, he was sitting. Well, I asked him to do the dishes, and he was sitting there playing a video game. Didn't pause. Started reading Bible verses out to me and tell me to go get lost, so that and quit my job so she could do more housework. I don't think there's one side. There's a side where he's like, and here's why I did that. And why it was a good thing. Like, I don't think you're going to get there, but yeah. I don't think that's there.
And I mean, here's the thing that's kind of freaking me out or grossing me out. I think I've been super fortunate, and I've also curated it. No question about that. But I've been fortunate with the men I just roomed with in college, and the people I've grown up around, and the people that I run with. And so I live in kind of a bubble of not perfect men, kind of some dorks, kind of some buttholes, me too, but like with good men. And that's on me that I need to get my head out of the sand and realize there's a lot more of this kind of nonsense going on out there.
It's a blessing, though.
What is? Having good men around you? Yeah, it's awesome. Of course it is. It's amazing. But it paints, because here's the thing. I hear these stories and my first gut instinct is that can't be real. And every woman's lived experience, not everyone, but so many women's lived experiences it tells me I'm dead wrong. And I guess I'll just say on behalf of men everywhere, I'm so sorry. On behalf of guys who identify as Christian, I'm sorry.
Well, thank you.
It doesn't help you at all.
I was gonna say that doesn't help at all.
Not even a little bit.
All right. That's something.
And I don't want to put a bad label on it, of course,
Thanks.
especially because that's a faith I subscribe to as well. But I guess I'm looking for hope, I suppose, or
where does
something-
this
something like that.
where does this come from for him? Like, where does this, like, how does this distill down into, like,
What's
an
his
operation?
side?
He's got to learn this from something.
Yeah.
Actually, I heard that a while back. I think it was probably a couple of years ago. We read an article and we're going through reacting to something, and someone said, "How do they think this is working? Right? In what way, as they operate this thing and operate in that way, that out the other side comes good." Because generally speaking, you're like, the reason I do what I do is for my own benefit or for the benefit of people that I care about, right? That's what I do. And sometimes it's horrible, right? It's like I abuse and I'm horrible to everybody because I need power, because I'm afraid that I, won't be able to provide for myself because I need security, because I'm insecure, etc. Right? But it's still meant to make you feel better. Right. Or I'm hyper violent and terrible to people because I want to be the top dog because I was treated badly and I never want that again. Right. It still makes me feel better. It's a horrible way to do it, but at least you can kind of see the path, right, to how he came up with that. And so, like, what's he getting out of it, and how does he think this is working, and where did this come from, and how did this plan function in his brain? And I get that, a lot of you are going to be like, I don't think it's a plan, man. I just think he's just doing it. Like, but if he's a leader and he's a worker and he's got a job in a company, but like he's not stupid. So therefore he has to have thought this through at some point and went, this is the way to go. This is how I'm going to make my life better. And so because it's so hard for me, especially when it comes to mental illness. And this is where it kind of falls off, is that when you're mentally ill, you're not thinking straight. The math doesn't work, right? Like when you're like, I'm going to do A plus B plus C and it will equal positive result. The equal sign is messed up, right? Like when it translates through the equal sign, something happens on the other side and it doesn't work out because the math is incorrect because of the mental illness. I get that. But at the same time, you still try to, the way that you do counseling and the way that all counselors work is you take the person, you talk it through, you find out what the situation is, you dig down to where the situation came from, you figure out the way of thinking, you cognitively disassemble that thought, you look for the root of, or the part that is screwy, and like, oh, you're doing that because your dad told you that that your only value is in your looks, brains, whatever, in how many points you scored, so therefore that's what's governing all the things. Let's talk about that. And now we got the little nugget there. We're going to reframe your entire universe and all of your thinking and all of everything, because now you're not trying to please your dad, who isn't even part of your life anymore, et cetera, et cetera. That's kind of how counseling works. But it's at least even then, like, well, your brain doesn't work. You have OCD because there's something in your brain that's not working. So what you have to do is recognize that part and go, okay, because that part doesn't work right, I'm going to make sure that even when those instincts come up and even though the situations come up, I need to navigate it in such a way that to not believe that part of my brain. That's that's part of the way of dealing with it. And just, I don't know, I try to be rational and cognitive and think it through this stuff, and I just don't get it sometimes. These guys are doing. I don't want to let her off the hook because prayer is such a powerful thing. She has prayed. Well, has she brought to? Yeah, exactly. The Matthew 18. Who else is involved? Have you talked to his dad? That kind of thing. Can you? Things like that. I don't know. Yeah, hard to know. Still a faith. So who knows if this is a deep-seated belief or something that's more recent? Yeah, maybe. Sometimes spouses are not at all on the same page. She will think he's this way for a reason. Yeah, exactly. Like where's this come from? She's going to try to interpret, and she might be completely wrong. You're definitely right. Yeah, but at least it's an attempt. Why is he thinking this way? Because if you can get yourself there, like you're dealing with someone who has issues or anger or whatever it is, and you're like, hey, let me see if I can get in their head and figure out why they're doing what they're doing. At least then you can try to figure out a way to communicate to them in a way that they can understand, right? Obviously, like, not that she did it wrong, not that this is bad, but, if you're going to have a conversation with a guy about taking out the garbage, doing it while he's playing Call of Duty, locked into a game that he can't pause, not the best time, right? There is a better time to do that, right? You can say, hey, after you're done your game, can we talk for a minute? right? That's better. I'm not saying that's good. I'm just saying, there are ways to navigate a conversation with somebody who doesn't want to talk about that or who isn't good at listening. You can find find better words, find better situation, do it after supper as opposed to before supper. That's a big one. Make sure they're all fed and happy. And then you have the conversation and you frame it in such a way that it is valuable to them. Hey, here's how your life will be better by you taking out the garbage. There's ways to do it. I'm not saying that he's good. I'm just saying, or that she did it quote unquote wrong, but there's probably a better way to do it. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of times because it's hot and heavy and you're all, like you come in, guns blazing and it doesn't get you your way, it causes more problems. But if you just went, okay, what's the best time to do this in a way that they are going to be responsive, you'll get your way a lot more. Mental illness. My mom loved me, but was unable to show it to me. She was unable to see my side of things. Her world felt painful, so she acted poorly. Yes, exactly. Like the glasses that she saw the world through were askew, which just sometimes that's just the way it is, and you can't get past that. It's as a person who's on the other side, especially if they're so intransigent that like so stuck that they just can't change, and they're not going to change, and they won't get counseling, and they won't get medication, they won't talk to their doctor, and they won't anything. That's just how they feel. Like eventually you have to get off the roller coaster. You got to get away from them and just kind of go, you know what? I'm not going to be living through your lenses anymore. Bye. And that's sometimes something you have to do. Did you see a video of the guy who had a coil of wire for 40 years and she had reached the end of the wire and his wife had no idea why he was emotional? Yeah, I did. I think it was a setup. If you don't know, it's a short where the guy's sitting there, like he's looking super like thoughtful about about this piece of rope, his little piece of twine. He's like getting all nostalgic over the piece of twine. Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you misting up there, man? And he's like, you know what? I've had this thing of twine for like a zillion years, and I'm at the end of it finally. And it's just it's bringing all. If I would have to extrapolate, but like bringing all this stuff back from life and all the projects he's done and all the ways that he's used it and how his life is coming closer to the end. How he's becoming older, how his body doesn't work the way it does anymore. How like the stuff that he's got regrets that he can't really change. All this is coming out of this little wire. And she just steps on his heart. I'm gonna see if I can find it. That's actually a good little clip. Doesn't really fit what we're talking about, but it's a good clip. Yeah, here, I nailed it. First try. Sure. Yes, all my dear friends.
Hey, what are you doing? I came out to check on you.
Huh?
What are you doing? Thought you were working.
I'm looking at this.
What is it?
It's wire. It's a spool of wire. And I'm almost out of it. Can you see the spool of wire?
Mm-hmm.
I'm almost out of it.
Okay.
And I've had this spool of wire for like 40 years. I bought it like this it's not a piece of a long time ago, but it's like 40 years of my life is in the wire that's gone. Does that make sense? This is what's left. Does that make sense?
Sorry to hear that, and I'm sad for you, but you're wearing your Jets hat, and I'm a little concerned right now that you're wearing your Jets hat. I thought that's why you were crying.
Okay, I'm done.
Okay, I didn't actually see the whole thing. I saw a summary of it. That was awful. Not that it fits what we're talking about, but that was really terrible. Holy Dinah. That was pretty terrible. That was just never mind. That's not what we're talking about. Yeah, that was like awful. That was super awful. Now I feel bad. But okay, so it's both sides, right? It's moral of the story. There, that's how I tie it in. Both sides, men and women, are terrible. Let's not be terrible to each other. She gave me the ick. That wife and this husband. Yeah, right? Well, I mean, as long as they never speak to each other, right? Like, I'd never want to talk about your feelings. Well, I don't have feelings, so nothing to talk about. Well, cool. I'm going to go do things that are important to me and not think of you at all. I also will do that. I hope it works out. Have a nice day. I'm sure it'll be fine. Totally be fine. Yeah, well, pity me why people don't open up, right? So it happens to women too. Women walk, it's like, hey, what's going on? Oh, I'm having a really bad thing. Is it that time of the month? Is that why? Are your emotions invalidated because of the calendar? Or, oh, you're always like that. So therefore, because you always feel like that, it doesn't count anymore, right? So your feelings do not matter because of the amount of them that you have, right? Or, a million other reasons. Like we invalidate each other all the time. You will change your world if you do one thing, and that will be give people the benefit of the doubt, right? Like when you look at the Bible, 1 Cor 13. There at the end here, this part. It says, love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things, right? So one of the things that jumps out in the middle there, is the believes all things. Bears all things, it's like all things? All things. Believes all things. That one is like, wait, I'm supposed to believe? Like, what do you mean? What if they're a narcissist? What if they're a liar? What if they're emotionally manipulating me? What if? All the guys I've ever met are just the worst. All the women I've ever met are manipulative. All the, and so therefore, no, I refuse. I'm going to be skeptical about everything all the time. And that's kind of how we raise people, right? Is be skeptical all the time, which, you know what? I'm a skeptic. I freely admit that I struggle just believing things because everybody's a liar all the time and everybody can't believe nobody. But if you make this one change in your life where you just simply say, when they speak and they say a thing, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and believe what they say until they prove themselves wrong, right? That will open up your world. It'll open up your world because you'll be like, wow, people really are vulnerable or they're really trying or that whatever. Like, just, it will change you if you do that one thing. This one trick, doctors hate this one trick for how to change your life. And he probably ever won't open up to her again. Yeah, exactly, Tommy. Because what's the point? You just like, especially if he's that vulnerable, right? Like if he's at the point where he's like, it's starting to come out physically, like as in like there's a little choking up, there's a little misty eyed kind of thing, and you step on that door is shut and going to be locked for a long while. Let's get back to the video though. How not to be terrible to each other would make a good substitute for the Bible. We probably invalidate our own emotions too. Absolutely, we do. We hear the voices of others telling us about the things that we feel, and we frame them or our feelings based on what others have told us, right? I feel sad. Well, I was told that when I feel sad, it doesn't count because I'm a whiner, because I'm over emotional, because I have too high of standards, because I'm damaged and therefore, I'm just always sad, because I have mental illness and therefore my sadness doesn't count because it needs to be medicated away, right? Like, so therefore you really could be sad and need help, but like you're telling yourself it doesn't count. Yep, absolutely. Also, why film your spouse crying and ask him about it? Why leave it up? Why did you post it? You narcissist. Nope.
My thought is he had a very sort of traditional upbringing.
I did too.
Right?
Yeah. But my dad said, serve your wife. You know what I mean?
Maybe it wasn't so traditional. Yeah, I don't know. It's an upbringing that certainly insisted upon mom and wife stay home and do what you're told.
His physical discomfort is so palpable right now. Like, he's like, honestly, I think he's the kind of dude, and I don't know him well, but based on the tats and his icon and all the sort of the he seems like the kind of guy that he would have to fight the instinct to go up to this guy and give him a good shake, from the neck area, just yeah. Rage bait. Well, yeah, that didn't seem like it. Unless he's a very good actor, didn't seem like it. Crying every day, mostly for a half a year now. So I think people probably are tired. Well, it's so yeah. Just give him a good shake. See what falls out, and chances are it's going to be parental abuse. But like crying every day, people get tired of it. Yeah, I mean that people do get tired of it. It's that we shouldn't ever think that that people's ability to process us is infinite. It's not. The only one being in the world that can deal with us 24/7 is God, and he's got way bigger shoulders. But you are worthy of other people's attention. You are worthy of having people hear you out. You are worthy of being believed. You are worthy of allowing people to say, saying, I'm going through a really bad time and I feel bad all the time. And that's just where I am right now. And you are worthy to have people who sit around and go, that sucks, and be okay with that. I've said before, like I was just thinking about it the other day. My daughter went out with a friend, and it was a friend from a long time ago. And that friend's dad was my friend. Right. And so when my wife started having some troubles and my family started having some troubles, this guy just dropped me like a hot potato. Like I no longer existed to this dude. I had done nothing. Right. I actually needed help, but it came down to, and there were other people in my life who said it out loud. Were like, I am so tired of your sadness and the abuse that you're taking. I can't handle it anymore, so I'm leaving. I can't be your friend anymore because watching you hurts me. So bye. And it sucks to be on this side of it, like to actually have people go, yeah, I can't handle your pain anymore because your pain is so painful that it hurts me. But at the same time, on this, after a long time, I recognize there are a lot of people out there, and most people, they do not have the ability to handle that much. They get to the top and they're like, I can't. I need to protect myself. And it's true. Yes, we have bad advice from people who are told, cut out everybody in your life who doesn't make you feel good. That's not good. You need people. People need people, and people who are in need you because you are strong and they are weak. Exactly. I did psychic damage. Actual, yeah. I was Psyducking everybody. I was Mewtwoing the world. And that's true. So it behooves us, well, I was gonna, you don't cry around them. Yeah, exactly. So it behooves us to go, you know what? I will I will tell them once a week instead of calling them every day. I will find something positive or something good or something different or whatever to text them about for a little while, because I'm trying to manage them and not use up their emotional ability. And it's true. It is true. Hello, One Shiny Penny. Good to see you. Welcome to the stream. It sounds terrible. It's like, oh, you're saying deny your feelings. No, what I'm saying is recognize that people are finite and work around it. You'll have more friends. That's the way it is. Also, your friends can't be your counselor. Your friends can't all be your pastor. Your friends can't be your main, like your psychiatrist, your doctor. They don't have that training. And if you're trying to get from them what you should be getting from a medical doctor and a psychologist and a psychiatrist and a counselor and a pastor, you're going to use them up. Right? You're just going to use them up. They don't do that. They're a friend. They can do friend stuff.
While husband goes and makes the money.
Oh,
and
I'm back up too.
Yeah.
But my dad said, serve your wife. You know what I mean?
Maybe it wasn't so traditional. Yeah, I don't know. It's an upbringing that certainly insisted upon mom and wife stay home and do what you're told while husband goes and makes the money. And that's sort of where that ends with his responsibility.
Can I say that is a terrible life? Like, as a guy, that's a terrible life. Walk into a house where people don't necessarily like you. where people aren't vulnerable with you, where they resent you, but they're too afraid to say anything, and that's where you live? That sucks. From a guy perspective, I want to come in and have conversations with my kids and have them share their feelings with me, and us being able to do stuff and me be able to share with them what I'm going through, and, be able to walk up and know that my wife and kids are, part of my life, as opposed to having them like pussyfoot. That's a terrible life for him as well. Like, there is joy in vulnerability. Trying to do those things too, because I know people who are going through their own stuff, but like adding to my own mother-in-law's dying is hard. Yep. Because I can't really talk to Hunter about it. And even though I'm hurting and mourning her, I know it's not as much as he does, or his sister, for example. Yeah. So the one thing that factors into this, and I know we're kind of meandering around. Forgive me if we're meant to stay real focused, but the one of the things that is it contributes to this is the loneliness epidemic. Like, if you ask your average person, how many friends do you have? Your average guy is going to say 1 or 0. And your average woman is going to say, do you mean like real friends? What do you mean by friend? Because for them, in my experience, it's really hard to trust. It's really hard to know, like, you mean people that can be vulnerable, people that I can open up my heart completely to, people that I know that aren't going to stab me in the back, people that I know are actually going to be on my side, people that I know are going to stick around. Those people, those ones, I don't have any of those, right? It's and so therefore, if everybody's lonely and they're going through this stuff, where do you turn? Right? Where do you turn? That's one of the reasons that if you go to a good church, you're going to hear consistently from the pulpit, hey, you guys should join small groups. Hey, you guys should come to the youth group. Hey, you guys should come to the men's group. Hey, you guys should join the, we're all going to be going out and we're all going to be hanging out. You should come to the thing, because life is better together, guys. And I can't, you all need friends, because y'all keep calling me because you're all lonely. And I get that. Totally fine. But you guys need to be friends with each other, What if my friend is also a psychologist who's also a pastor? then you're a blessed man. You're blessed.
So I think a lot of that has trickled down. It wasn't this way when we were dating.
I was going to say, why'd you marry into this?
I suppose I thought he was different from his parents. We'd had that conversation of what we want our marriage to look like.
He's going to crawl out of his skin.
He didn't want one like his parents, and I didn't want one like my parents, and we could forge our own path. But we fall into old habits, I suppose.
Yeah. Are you safe?
Or he was lying, and he's a gaslighting, horrible narcissist who tells you what you want to hear, so that you can, so he can get you in a position where he's locked you in, so that you have no one else around, so that he can abuse you. That's another option, which is why you need the community. And the old adage of, if you want to know what your wife's going to be, go look at your mother, and if you want to know what your husband's going to be, go look at the dad. There's some truth to that.
Physically safe, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Because the next step is you being very, very clear with yourself, and probably with a counselor, a couple of girlfriends, on what will be true in your home for your body autonomy. Because I also know this happens in the bedroom. And I know this happens in any other sphere that you don't feel comfortable talking about publicly, but I know. And because this is a radically abusive, distorted view of all sorts of good things used to wield power, and it just makes me sick to my stomach, dude. But you need to.
Are you legit asking? If you're legit asking, I can talk about it. Or are you just like, because it's bad, man. Okay.
Be very clear about, here's how this is going to go. And then he gets a choice to opt in or opt out.
I'll back that up.
A distorted view of room. And I know this happens in any other sphere that you don't feel comfortable talking about publicly, but I know.
So for anybody watching the video and didn't see the comment, I was laughing at Quiz's comment. It's usually sleep. I don't know what other people do. That's funny, right? And I wanted to comment on that, and I thought it was funny. I'm like, yeah, I don't sleep. I watch anime. I don't know what you're talking about. So sorry. It seemed like I laughed like you're in a terrible relationship. No, I wasn't doing that. Quiz made me do that. His fault.
And because this is a radically abusive, distorted view of all sorts of good things used to wield power, and it just makes me sick to my stomach, dude. But you need to be very clear about here's how this is going to go, and then he gets a choice to opt in or opt out.
I'm curious if he's going to say how to do that, because there's certain ways to do this that'll keep you safe, and certain ways to do this when you're not going to keep. And I agree with him completely that the only way this dude is going to be able to understand what's going on is if you speak to him in a language he understands, and that is the language of consequence. Hey, suck it up, or like get better, or you're fired. Right? You're not doing the work that you're supposed to be doing. You're not following through on the agreements that we've had. And if you were doing this at work, you'd be fired because you've been warned, you've been threatened, you've been told, you've been cajoled, you've been bribed, and none of it's working. And so therefore you're being completely unreasonable. So you're going to be fired. This is your last warning. That's how he needs to be communicated with, if that's the only way he's going to function. Now, the way to do that, well, obviously, but the thing is, if you're shouting at a wall, doesn't matter. That person cannot hear you. Then it doesn't matter how much communication. Yes, as I said before, when she communicated, not the best time. There are better ways to do that. Like you could learn some communication tricks on how to make people listen to you and win friends and influence people. Yes, you can do that. That's a good thing. Learn those. But at the same time, if you're talking to a wall, you're talking to a wall. That's why the only way to do that is with the sledgehammer and to go, this is it, bro. Things are going to change, or things are going to change, right? Those are your choices. When you do that, like if I were to counsel this person, if you're going to do that, you need to do this not alone. Do not do this by yourself. Do not do this in the house with just yourself on one night. You need to do this where people are around. You need to do this with other people in the room. You need to do this even in a separate location, or for that matter, if you have to spring it on them the way that you do a like one of those confrontation addiction things that they call it. The where you do what are those called? You know what I mean? You do, if you do, like you do that, and then you have that conversation, and then you step out. Like she doesn't have kids, doesn't have to worry about the kids, any of that kind of stuff. Step out. Hey, listen, you've got intervention. That's the word. Listen, you've got a few days to think about this, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about it, and you're going to tell me what you think. And hopefully over that 2-3 days, he will process how serious it is. Well, his reaction will be, you can't do this to me. Don't you know who I am? That's not what the Bible says. Your friends are telling you wrong things. You're joining a cult. That pastor's horrible. I told you that in the first place, that he was going to be a problem, blah, 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 right? And then it's going to be going, well, okay, but like that's still what's going to happen. So you have a choice between either coming up with some stuff and why I should stick around, and or if you've decided this isn't going, if you're not going to change it all, then I'm leaving. And the reason that I would think that John here would be moving towards this is because this will turn physical, right? That there's a good chance. Yeah, the divorce came out of nowhere. Yeah, there's a chance this will turn physical, because if she pushes back, right? If she pushes back by herself, she's in the room. You're not going to treat me like this. If you don't do this, I'm going to get divorced. What'll happen is, what he'll see is not, oh no, my marriage is over. It's, oh no, I'm going to be embarrassed. Oh no, other people are going to be able to see. Oh no, people are going to judge me. I'll be one of those bad guys. You can't do this to me. It's going to make me look bad. How do I do this? Well, my only framework for relationship isn't through communication with words. It is through threat, right? That's how I do it at work. That's how I do it with other people. That's how I do it in game. So my communication level is the ability to threat, right? Either lie make a promise and lie about it, or threaten that person. You're going to go either way. It's either going to be, yeah, no worry, I'll change, whatever, and then they won't, or it'll be, you fall in line or I'll hurt you. And that's why you got to be careful with this whole thing, because you're playing with nitroglycerin in a very real sense. My stepmom had to do that to my dad. She told him she was prepared to leave, and had things set up to do so. He seemed to improve for a moment, but it seemed like things are back to how they were before. But I'm just observing from the outside. Yeah, and you got to stick to your guns. That's one of the hardest things, is because especially if they'll give you a nickel's worth of the dollar you asked for, and you got to be careful with that.
And I guess what I'm telling you is, if you're telling me this is what he knows, like, does he have guy friends? What does he listen to? Like, where does this continue on?
I think a lot of the media he consumes very much encourages his worldview.
I swear he's going to say Andrew Tate.
So,
Who? What does he consume?
certain podcasts that I'm learning the word manosphere.
Oh God, is he an Andrew Tate guy?
Told ya.
I don't think that's the specific person he listens to, but certainly guys like him. I think it's got a big influence on how the culture.
Speaking of the ick, right? Yeah, bro. Joe Rogan. I mean, I don't know. Joe seems like the kind of guy, he's more along the lines of asking questions and having a good podcast than he is trying to tell people to be horrible. I don't listen to a ton of Joe Rogan, just the clips. But yeah, Andrew Tate is an absolute tool. And all the people in that sort of area of how to manipulate, how to put people in their place. The most important thing you can be is physically attractive and financially successful and have the big this and big that. And, like it just, no. Yeah, I don't mind Joe Rogan. I think the way that he talks is he's just asking questions, a whole bunch of questions. He's just good at asking questions. Yeah, the ick. Yeah, he's gross. He's gross. I don't know how dudes. I mean, there are dudes who are lonely and they've tried to connect to women. You know what? I will subscribe. Boop. Try to connect to women, and it won't work. Because they suck, or they haven't tried, or they haven't. Their package that they're offering is no good, and they're like, yeah, no, you don't have anything to offer. I'm bringing all of it, and you're bringing none of it. And so their response is not to self-improve; it is to try to find tricks. Right? Is to go, well, how do I trick these people, these women, into wanting to be with me because I have physical desires, and I got to be a way to do that. And so they go find women who have mental health issues and whatever, and learn how to manipulate them. And then that becomes, horrible. Or they go further and they're like, okay, now the only way for me to do this is if I completely reinvent myself into some alpha male bullcrap nonsense. And they just only listen to people that, like this guy who's telling him from a male perspective, not even, I don't know what perspective, and never listen to a single female, because females are dumb. Females are bad. Females are the problem. Females are the enemy. Females are the product. They're not, and so therefore, how do we treat them as such? Well, then you go find all these dudes who only talk to dudes about dudes. Not cool.
Sure, in our home at the moment. I don't think that's the specific person he listens to, but certainly guys like him. I think it's got a big influence on how the culture in our home at the moment.
This woman sounds super smart too, dude. She'd be such a benefit if you treated her nice.
So if he was bringing pornography into the house and letting that be instructive as to how you were going to react, how are you going to respond to him sexually? Would you put up with that?
No.
Okay. I want you to view this kind of poison and garbage the exact same way.
I hadn't thought of it like that.
It is lies. And
I guess if nothing else on this phone call, I want you to feel permission, as long as you're safe. If you're not safe, please go somewhere where you're safe physically, okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To reclaim your autonomy. I'm sorry. Did you grow up with some of this nonsense too?
No, maybe that's why I'm I've allowed some of it to really sit with me and confuse me.
Oh, the poison is the Andrew Tate bullcrap, like male manosphere garbage perspective, in that it's a complete misrepresentation of what marriage and relationships between men and women are supposed to be, right? And so therefore, in the same way, and that's why he's using porn as an example. It's a complete misrepresentation of what physical, intimate relationships are supposed to be. All of it is wrong. Right. And yet somehow it's the desire that these guys have. They look at it and they're like, that's what I want. That makes me feel the feeling I want to feel. But it doesn't get you there in the right way. It gets you there in a very terrible, terrible way. Right. Only hurtful in the end.
It's a very, very common thing when I used to sit down with assault victims was it was almost as I would ask questions as part of an investigation, what happened. It was a digesting. It was like a slow metabolizing of, oh my gosh, I am now in this category.
Mm-hmm.
Like I am now a person that this is happening to. And our bodies are so amazing at helping us get distance from wild types of pain, both emotional and psychological and physical. It helps us. Like,
did you get what he said there? It basically was, if you can get yourself out of the situation, you're going to be able to see it a lot more clearly. That's basically what he's saying. Because when you're in the situation, because it's painful, because it's horrible, because it's difficult, because it's whatever, you can rationalize the heck out of everything. This is why people can go through wars and get to the other side of it, and then also they're distant and they fall apart. Right? We're amazingly built to go through a lot of bad stuff, starve yourself for a long time, and your body can keep going, just abuse like crazy, horrible stuff, chop off limbs, keep going. But when you get that distance and you start allowing allowing yourself to process it and feel it and go through some stuff, that's where it all comes. So he's just like, you need to go step back and look at this without being, here. You gotta back up a little bit. He's a doctor. I'm not. I have thoughts, but I should step back and let him talk. Yeah, well, no, you can talk. You can share stuff. That's what we're here for, man. But yeah, if your brain is like, if I speak, I'm going to sound wrong and stupid, I will not. That's probably maybe a good instinct. we should all have that. Start to see where you're headed when exactly.
Like make space. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's hard when the space begins to shrink and you realize, oh, this is my life.
Yeah, it's just sort of how did it come to this? How did everything change so quickly?
I know, and you sound like somebody who's looked to the mirror and tried to figure out what you did wrong here. And they just got to hear me say, dude, this is madness. It's madness.
Yeah.
It helps to hear somebody else say it. It makes you feel a little less alone. So thank you.
I mean, listen to the other bro guys out there. Do you know the word, behind closed doors, the word on the street with Rogan is that he's one of the greatest husbands ever? You ever heard some of those goofballs talk about their, I'm just thinking of the guys with huge podcasts who are all real raunchy dudes. They're so insane about how much they love their wives and how they dedicate their lives to try, they tell jokes about them and they're inappropriate, blah, blah. But it's this cannot do anything other than I want to provide the most insane life for my wife.
Wow.
You ever heard Dave Ramsey talk about his wife? It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. That's how I found you.
People talk about me and my wife. I mean, it's just, it's such a great, you're blowing my mind right now. And you should.
And I think the reason that is blowing his mind is because he's seen the other side. He's like, life on this side where you're mutually submitting, taking care of each other, loving each other, serving your wife, it's so much better. The thing that this guy is signed up for is just the worst. It's just the worst. It's like he walked into a junkyard and started, lifting weights as hard as he possibly can, just grabbing the greasiest, rustiest stuff, walking out. He's sick. He's grabbing things, body full of asbestos. And he's like, I'm working out though. And then he goes to an actual gym and he's like, dude, you are not, everything you're doing is bad. You're making yourself sick. And he's like, I'm getting jacked though. You're not though. You're killing everybody around you. Don't. And it's that's sort of, he's like, man, it's so much better on the other side. Hey, sleepy wifey. Bert Creature is one of those guys, super crass, will do anything for his wife, from what I remember. It depends on who's saying it. If he's saying that about himself, I wouldn't believe it. If his wife is saying that, or other people are saying that about him, then you can believe it, because a lot of these guys are going to lie. I love my wife so much. I love my wife so much, and it has to come from other people. No worries.
Shouldn't. That this kind of nonsense is still out there, and I thought this crap. I'm sorry. I'm just sorry. I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. And
no, I hate it for you.
I was scared to call, but I think if anybody else is out there, maybe they can hear something like this and feel a little less alone.
What's your next move?
Well,
good counseling. And
probably
what are you
get
going to do
on my
about
knees and pray.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, and call a girlfriend.
Okay, and then what?
And just be honest. I don't know. After that, I don't know.
I'm vibing with this guy so hard right now. Yep. And then what? That's how I preached for a decade and a half, man. You get to the end of the sermon and hey, like, and here's how you apply it, right? Everything needs a so what. Everything needs a so what. You get to the end of anything and they have absolutely nothing to do about that. You didn't talk. You didn't teach. You didn't anything. So these guys are, it's okay, cool. Then what? I love that. Absolutely. Yeah, well, he as a counselor, you can't say leave. What you can say, especially since you only know the phone call and you only know the one perspective and whatever, like you shouldn't be prescribing. What you can say is, what are your instincts saying and what do you think? And here's, generally speaking, how to process this more healthy. Go talk to some people, open up, tell some folks, maybe get some distance from this, see what, those are all good advice, but he can't just say, leave your husband. That's not appropriate. I'm afraid I don't know what you mean, sleepy wifey.
Okay, I need you to hear me say you have a very hard road ahead of you. And this is a choose your hard moment. It's going to be very, very hard to continue living the life where you are somebody else's servant who has no care in the world about your feelings, your emotions, your dreams, your wants, your partnership.
Oh, okay. I get it. Sorry, sleepy wife. I thought you were commenting on the video, and I totally did not see what you're saying. That's cool. Excited about monster trucks. I've been there once. It's super fun. Loud as flip. Make sure you get some headphone or some earphone blocker thingies for him. Otherwise, it won't be cool. Just holding your hand and leaning towards her with raised eyebrows. Yeah. Well, exactly.
Yeah.
No, you are
this thing.
You're a sexual servant and you are a child dispenser. That's going to be a very hard life. And it will be very hard to untangle yourself from this madness too.
Yeah, once there's a kid involved.
So knowing there's only hard paths ahead of me.
You're right.
Ahead of you. It's not a matter of there's an easy route out of this thing. It's just two hard paths.
Mm-hmm.
And so whenever somebody's faced with a choose your hard moment, my recommendation is to pick the hard path that will get you to the place that you want to be in 5 years, in 3 years.
That's good advice. Thank you.
Just hear me say, there's good guys out there. There's tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of them. I promise you. I know them.
I believe you. And I know I'm going to be okay.
That's not quite as helpful. A lot of good guys out there. You should probably leave your guy and go find another guy. Not the best advice, at least if that's what he's implying. The start of this should be, this is the guy you're married to. What is the path that allows him to be the guy that you wanted him to be when you were married? Like what, in what way can you contribute to his spiritual healing, his relational healing, so you guys can actually be who you were supposed to be and who he said he wanted to be in the first place, right? Like what's that path? And that second, when you're like, that path does not work, the second path is, okay, you need to get yourself safe and free from a guy who it just isn't going to change and he's horrible, right? Yeah, it's not good advice to start with. The first advice should be, how do you get yourself safe? How do you get yourself in a place where you can get that perspective? But in order to find reconciliation with your spouse, in order to figure out how you can be together and in a healthy way, in order to be with this person that you do love and have loved and is being a tool, how do you do that? And then when that is, completely used up and there's just no way, okay, then you're like, okay, then we can start talking about other options. But maybe that's not what he meant.
I think just, feeling a little bit like I've got somebody to walk with me has been helpful, even just for a few minutes. So I really appreciate it.
Can I ask one more quick question and I'll let you go?
Of course.
And this is only, I'll edit this part out if you want me to. This is only because I've sat with too many people who have been on the other side of this thing before. For 20 years, I've done this.
Mm-hmm.
I can hear your voice starting to inch backwards a little bit. Like there's a fear that I've said too much and I'm not safe anymore. Are you okay?
It's when you get to that place where you're like, okay, I do want change. I want something to happen. And then someone says, okay, here's the thing. It's going to be really hard. It's going to be a little bit scary. And who you're dealing with. You know that person is like potentially, volatile. Then you're like, I feel better because I got it out. Actually, I mean, that's why we do talk therapy. That's why you're supposed to be in small groups. That's why you're supposed to talk to your friends. Because literally just letting it out of your body through words will make you feel better. It's just how we operate. As long as it's inside and you're stuck in your own head and you're only thinking your own stuff and you're having pretend conversations in your like that's just miserable. As soon as you start talking about it, you feel better. That you should do that. You should talk about it or share it or journal about it or, all those things. You got to get it out in words. And so you start feeling better. And the idea is those two things are, he's talking about is happening right now. One is you're starting to feel a little bit better because you had a conversation with me and suddenly the picture, like the bad doesn't look as bad because you feel a little bit better. And you're like, oh, you know what? Maybe I can do this for another few days because I really do feel better. Thanks for the talk. But he's like, but the other thing that's happening is you're recognizing how difficult this is going to be, right? You're like, okay, the solution isn't like you get on the phone and you're like, okay, how do I solve this? And he's like, well, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to say this, this, and this. That'll completely change it completely from the beginning. It's like you just say these 3 phrases and he'll be a different person. You'll be all good. You just didn't know those 3 magic phrases. And then you find out actually we're talking about, difficult confrontations, finding somewhere to live for a little while, trying to work through this stuff for, like multiple months, years, weeks, months, years. And, okay, maybe I will dial back and maybe this is too scary. And maybe this is going to be something. So I don't know if maybe I'll pull back and this is too much. I'll try to get used to this. And yeah, exactly. And then, the other one is I feel a sense of hope. I feel a sense of that I got an idea. I'm going to go do this right now, right? So many men and women. Thank you so much for that. And you just kind of be like, don't do that right this second. You are not in the right space, And so therefore the you can get yourself. So yeah, there's a mitigation here of, hey, this energy, like we just stirred up a bunch of dirt. You came in, you had some dirt, and we all went and got it all over the place. And like, what are we going to do with? Like, you're not getting settled. You're not fixed. You're not, you're not better. You don't. So therefore, you're all shaken up right now. You're like a bottle of pop that's been shaken up. Do not go and crack this bad boy open just yet because you're not ready for it. That's I think that's probably what he's trying to mitigate. Well, go to your pastor, go talk to a friend, process it, yeah, exactly. Like you just gotta, right now is not the time to go and confront him.
I'm okay. Just a little shaken, I think.
Okay.
Thank you.
What you did's a brave thing.
And some women, or guys for that matter, victims, abuse victims, they need permission to be allowed to leave, right? Especially if it's a Christian thing, you got the whole religious mess, and that, well, if I get divorced, that's a sin, so therefore that's not an option. So I don't know, I'm stuck, and so they need permission from somebody with authority, which is, he is, biblical male guy, Christian radio guy, authority. He said it's okay. Sometimes you need that, and it's a way for you to process through and kind of go, okay, so I'm okay to do that now. Well, at the very least, someone who's on your side, Bark. At the very, very least, someone who's like, when you sit with them, they are on your side. That's the minimum requirement.
When you hang up with me, will you call somebody that you trust and say, I need to come over and talk to you right now?
I'm going to do that. Yeah.
You promise?
Sorry. Yes, promise. I'm
okay.
sorry.
Hey, don't ever apologize to me. I'm just a clown on the radio, dude, on the podcast. But
You're a very helpful clown.
I want you to listen to that lump in your throat, okay? It sounds like you're hanging on with duct tape right now. Are you sure you're okay?
Yes, I'm okay. Thank you.
I'm going to trust you. Will you call me anytime? All right. Bye, love.
Like the are you okay? The problem with the are you okay, if you're in that sort of relationship or you're in that kind of sphere, you don't have no idea what the definition of okay is, right? Because for you, okay might be nobody's going to beat me up today, or okay means I was allowed to have supper, or okay was he's not here right now. Like there's what does okay mean, right? It's so hard to process what okay means. And are you okay? And I think he probably means, are you in a place where you are going to be like in this vulnerable state that I'm leaving you with after a 15-minute conversation? Are you going to do something stupid? It's hopeless. I'm going to go self-harm, or I'm going to go do something, dangerous. I'm going to go confront the guy, or I actually am alone. I don't have friends. I don't have people to do that with, and I'm all stirred up and nowhere to go. Like he's just like, can you move one step further without me into a healthier place? Like it's hard to know what okay means in that situation. Sleepy says, I honestly don't think God will force you to be with a person that is abusing you. I think it's important of God, going to God and having him guide you, because he will reveal it to you if it's more of a thing, or if it's biblically accurate sign for separation. Yeah, you definitely do need biblical advice. I don't agree with you that God won't keep you in an abusive situation. That's not true. That's not what the Bible says. Look at Hosea and Gomer. It's the greatest example of God going, hey, guess what? I'm going to put you into a marriage. It's going to be horrible and abusive. She's going to cheat on you. It's going to be bad. You're going to be always brokenhearted. And that's the plan. That's a rare plan, right? It's not usual. But that's why you need biblical counsel. You need people out there. You need folks who are able to kind of work through this stuff with you. But it's not always because it feels bad, pull the chute, or because it's hard, it'll be easier somewhere else. Sometimes, you need, it needs to be processed in a much more deep biblical way, because it's not always one-to-one. I'm not saying stay in an abusive marriage. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that sometimes the path that God has for your very difficult situation is not escape, but to be walking through, even though it's going to suck for a while. That's how that works.
All right, thanks. Love you. Bye-bye.
Dang, man. That was a lot. That was a lot to process. We talked about this actually in the last stream. The reason this came up is because we were talking about, I can't remember what we were talking about actually. But it was this was sent to me by someone who's like, hey, this kind of goes exactly to what we were just talking about. And so this is kind of a carry on from the previous conversation, but it's going to lead us into a couple other ways. We're going to be talking about, from a psychological perspective, why men get so angry. And believe it or not, it ties into this article that says, since Satan knows the ultimate outcome, why does he continue opposing God? Right. And then we're going to talk about the gruff video game man, which I've never heard that phrase, but I really love it now. So that's what we're going to do next. I'm going to take a little break. By all means, please do check out my website, exclamation point web. Please subscribe on YouTube, exclamation point YouTube. And if you like what we're doing and you really appreciate what's happening in this on the channel and through Taco and through all that stuff, exclamation point donate. I'm at the place where things are getting a little, financially interesting because of purchases and because travel and things like that. And so if you love it, it'd be great if you'd consider that. It is tax deductible. It is a nonprofit, so you will get a receipt. Okay, I'll see you guys soon, and I'll be back after a little break. You get a little snack, and I'm not going outside. It's plus a million out there, so I'm just gonna go breathe some different air. Okay, see you very, very soon. Hello. I'm back. You all right, Quiz? Quiz King smacked Quiz King with a spork. What? Were you a bad boy? Did you need to self-flagellate a little bit? Sorry. I apologize, Spark. It's a habit I have, is being terrifying for no reason. All right, we're gonna jump back in. I'm gonna hit the talk button again. Boop. We just talked a lot about the a guy, like you gave an example. I didn't think it was gonna last that long, but it did. We talked a lot about a guy who was clearly not cool, and his marriage was kind of a mess, and he had it didn't say he was angry, but I have a feeling that he probably is a pretty upset guy, especially considering the way that he was treating his wife and the reaction to it, and him whipping out the Bible and starting to read verses. I'm guessing he wasn't being all cool, calm, and collected while doing it. And so I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about why men get so angry. And one of the things I don't want to do. I don't want to come across as we're man hating today, because I are one, and it's not about that. And the question where this comes from is a place of going, hey, you know what? There, ladies who are in the crowd, there are some men that are a mess, so be careful. Ladies in the crowd, hey, here's a way for you to understand guys better. Guys in the crowd, hey, don't be a tool. And guys in the crowd, this is why your feelings are feeling the way they feel, and what you can kind of do about it. So it's meant to be helpful. It's not meant to simply be man bashing. That's not what we're trying to do. You flung the potatoes and miscalculated the recoil. It happens to everybody. You get hit with that spork, that spork pain. All right, why men get so angry? Men's anger is often fueled by fear. The end. Thanks for having a talk. That was all we needed to say. So we're going to let's just kind of work through it today in light of the previous conversation, in light of the previous thing. Which, if you're on YouTube right now, you have to go see. It's a different video. So. Men may channel emotions into anger, which may seem like a more masculine and socially acceptable emotion. Their fear often masks underlying emotions, such as fear. Recognizing the fears beneath anger can lead to more open, intimate communication. So one of the things that and I've talked about this a lot, so it's nothing new, and that is how guys, many times, and not just guys, girls too, is, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. That's exactly right. They don't have the vocabulary to explain why they feel the way they feel, right? For them, they have this emotion going on and stuff going on inside. But because of the way they were raised, the previous guy talking about traditional, grew up in a traditional, what does that mean? Well, usually that means that you very emotionally suppressed, very, religiously overtoned. We don't talk about our sin. We don't talk about our issues. We don't talk about our temptations. We don't talk about our feelings. We don't talk about troubles that we have. We don't talk about any kind of non-traditional predilections that we may have towards non-traditional things, and so therefore you learn to kind of squish it down. Well, the problem with that is that your emotional range isn't very big, and when you start feeling emotions that aren't usual, or they're more extreme or whatever, you don't know how to communicate them. You don't know how to feel them. You don't know where they came from. You don't know what to do with them. And so you end up, we're bad at being Vulcans. Yeah. Well, that's it. And that's, ironic. You talk about Vulcan, they suppressed their emotion. That's what they did. But the thing about the Vulcan people is that the emotion didn't go away. They were a group that were constantly telling themselves, I don't have emotions. I don't have emotions. I don't have emotions. But that's not true. The origin of the Vulcans was in they were very emotional, extremely emotional, always out of control, wars like crazy. In fact, you get the Romulans and the Vulcans, they're cousins, right? The Romulans, who became a warlike, emotional race, and then you have the Vulcans, who became the sort of the emotionally suppressed. We don't talk about that. We don't feel that. We go through the not the Ponfar. Go through the I can't ever remember the name of the stupid ceremony. Anyway, you go through a ceremony in order to purge your emotions and finally, get rid of them or whatever. And it kind of works, but it also kind of doesn't, because what you see is as they get older and they get senile, or they get something bad happens, or they get squirted by a plant on a on some foreign planet that caused them to feel the feels, is that it just completely wrecks them. They're allergic to them. Culinar, I'm sorry. Right? And that's the thing. As soon as anything it kind of tweaks that, and this is very, very similar to what we're talking about. The walls come down, or the cage opens, or whatever you want to call it. They're a mess, and so much so that it makes them sick. Like it makes them, like in one episode in the original Star Trek, Spock was going to die because he was feeling the feels of love. It could have killed him, and so therefore, and that's very true. And bringing it back to what we're talking about now, there are a lot of guys out there that's how they kind of operate. They don't necessarily turn off their emotions, because that's almost impossible to do. But what they do is they just channel it. I'll have three, right? I'll have angry and hungry and horny, and that's all I'm allowed to do, right? That's all. I'll have those three, and so whenever I feel something, I'm going to put it in one of those three. They don't know how to deal with that, exactly what we're talking about. So that's what we're talking about today. Excellent illustration. Many men struggle to recognize and express their emotions. Anger is often the emotion with which many men feel most comfortable. Ask a man how he feels, and you may get a puzzled expression unless he's angry, in which case you'll often be quite clear and forthcoming about how he's feeling. Men are socialized to channel much of their emotional life into anger, because avoiding being angry avoids being vulnerable. So so how do you feel? The choice is either I feel, right? So why are you so emotional? I feel angry. That bad thing happened. Me feel anger. Me want bad thing. Stop now. Versus, I feel like I've been betrayed by someone I trust. I feel like I'm not getting something that I deserve. I feel like I'm embarrassed, and I feel a sense of insecurity because of something someone says. I feel like the loneliness that I've had inside of me has become so palpable in the last little while. I feel overwhelmed by it. Like those things, it was like, we're just gonna put it all into anger, because if I have to say out loud, I'm a lonely person, or I'm emotionally insecure because I have a button that you can push that makes me feel really bad. Here's my button. All you have to say is you have an ugly shirt today, or you're not nearly as smart as I thought you were, or people think you're a failure, like whatever. Here's my emotional button. You hit that, it's going to devastate me. Guys are like, I'm not giving that button to anybody, not even my wife, not even my best friend, not anything. I'm just going to, like, nobody gets that button. It would help them. It would help them process it and figure it out and know why it's happening and be able to deal with it later and not channel it into stuff that's going to get them in trouble. But they don't want to. They avoid feeling vulnerable. Of course, men do have emotions other than anger. Men feel sad, glad, scared, but anger is often the only socially acceptable emotion. There are numerous social prohibitions against men expressing emotions other than anger, and considerable social reinforcement for being angry. We think of men who are angry as powerful and more masculine, and men who express sadness or fear as weak and less masculine. I think this is a bit of an older thought, except and the reason I say it's a bit of an older thought is because I think we've got to a place where there's maybe just because I'm Canadian and more in touch with my feelings, but we get to a place where I think guys can be more sensitive. They can be more artistic. They can be more. They can write more emotional novels. They can do. They can make movies that touch the heart. They can hug their kids, hug their children, hug their wife. They can have public displays of affection. I think we're doing a lot better now. You back up, I don't know, 75 years, how far you want to go back, to where like dads couldn't even hug their kids because that would be bad. I think we're a lot better off. Yes, I think where we see this, there probably is still a huge amount of this in the world, where there are guys who aren't allowed to feel, aren't allowed to express. But I think we're doing a little bit better now. Blessing Boat says, my dad is very angry. I picked up some of that. It's a crazy why it happens. I hated it when I was a kid. Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? You actually learn how to react from to things from your parents. If your dad freaked out when a bee was around, you're gonna freak out when a bee is around. If your mom crushed all the emotions inside of herself and didn't want to express anything, and you weren't allowed to talk to anybody, we don't talk about that, we don't talk about that, we don't talk about that, you're gonna have the same kind of thing, where you just like, man, if something bad happens, I can't tell anybody. Like we learn how to react from our parents. So we got to work through that if it was unhealthy. Like for me, I grew up with a dad who was always on night shift and was always day night. So he was always tired. And his thing that he had that he did a lot was just like negative self-talk or critical talking. And so like it would be just sort of a common theme through my life where he'd be doing something, he'd be doing the right thing, but he'd be like mumbling all the way through it. I can't believe I have to do this. Why do it's always so expensive. This is so dumb. I don't have time for this. Why do things have to break all the time? And you got to change the stupid oil. Can't even find my screwdriver. Where did they put the dang screwdriver? Why would it be over there? That was, that was the running commentary. And so when I get tired or when I'm not paying attention to myself, that is really easy for me to pick up on. Just kind of get into that negative slide of just miserable, critical speaking, right? It wasn't like he was, freaking out or abusive. I have an amazing dad. But it was like that is in me now. I feel that it's in me. That's where it came from. In contrast, women are socialized to direct their anger inward and believe that open expressions of anger are not feminine. Men are socialized to express their anger overtly and to use their anger to control their partners and their own emotional experience. Being angry not only helps men to feel more in control of their own emotional experience, but many men also use anger as an attempt to control their partner's expression of feeling as well. That is a very nice way of saying they scream at their partner until their partner leaves them alone. The women, socialized to direct their anger inward. That's what we talked about before. Kind of push it in. And because they're not allowed to, because if they get angry, all of a sudden they're called, terrible names. A guy gets angry and gruff and starts yelling at people. They're assertive. They're a leader. They have, they are intimidating and getting things done. A woman does it. And suddenly like she's, the B word, she's on her period. She's just, she's bossy. It's all negative stuff. Like just, that's the way that culture divides it. Even same emotion, same place, even for a good reason. They aren't seen the same. And so you compensate differently, right? We're so to express anger overtly. I don't know. I mean, we when we watch movies, when we watch media, when we read books, when, whatever, the things that are out there, we do see one of the things that we often see, and this has been more and more, like, look at John Wick. John Wick is a great example of a guy who a bad thing happened to that made him angry. And so he went and just used that anger as fuel to murder 75 people, right? And throughout, what you see when guys watch that, a lot of guys will watch that, or, that or Taken or whatever, that power fantasy from an elite person who could do amazing stuff, certain set of skills. They're like, man, I would love to be able to do that because there are things in my life that I don't like and people that doing things to people I care about. And therefore I wish I had that certain set of skills. And then that way I'd be able to enact this revenge. And so for them, channeling that anger into ultra violence or into, blowing up the bad guy's, boat or shooting the guy in the face, for them, it's like, yeah, that's cool. Right. Whereas it ends up being heroic, using anger for the sake of violence and to channel it into a way that you kill the bad guy. And that's honestly, like, in a sense, that's how you get through war. That's how you get through some bad thing. Or that's how there's a place for it. But at the same time, it does become our hero. How many heroes, and actually I'll ask the question, how many heroes are out there are emotionally vulnerable and solve their problems, male heroes, with words or with sensitivity, or they channel those emotions into something more, I guess, constructive. I guess you'd say. I don't know. Like the most of the ones I can think of, like for example, Sherlock Holmes, like he was, borderline emotionless. Like he didn't have that. He had some, but not a lot, right? I'm trying to think of any hero that was you got me thinking of Star Trek now, right? Like Picard was a great example. Like Kirk would be, you made me angry. I'm going to, do something violent. And I'm going to, punch you in the face and then kiss the girl and then let's go. And then give you a lecture and whatnot. Like you don't want to get on his bad side. And then, but Picard, I think he had more emotional vulnerability. He had more stuff going on, but he also had, Riker. Riker was the yin to Picard's yang. Like Riker was the Kirk. We need someone to go and punch people and get all upset. That's what he was for. Right. So therefore it's going to come from the writing and whatever, but yeah, I can't think of the Hulk. Yeah. Using his emotion. Well, that's it. The exact opposite. I wonder if there are any. I really do. I'd love to, if you think of any, let me know. Being angry not only helps men to feel more in control of their own emotional experience, but many men also use anger in an attempt to control their partner's expression of feeling as well. So when it says more in control of their emotional experience, it's something they can handle, is what that means. Is like, because emotion requires nuance. It requires words and communication and understanding and processing and thinking and taking time to run it through a matrix of what is this feeling and what am I doing and what do I do with it and how's it affecting me? Where did it come from? And what's the right way to process it? What's truth? What's lie? What is part of this me? Am I wrong? Things like that. Whereas it's far more simple just to, blow up and make the world scatter. Because if I blow up and make the world scatter, then I don't have to deal with it. Right. And in the same way, if my spouse or kids or whatever, my other partner is causing problems, right? And they're trying to be vulnerable and they're trying to see multiple perspectives and they're trying to be, whatever, they will say, don't do that, right? You need to stick up for yourself. And they're trying to be more nuanced in it. And so therefore, yeah, I can see that. Newt Scamander from Harry Potter. Oh, he definitely was he wasn't a strong force, right? Yeah. I just watched one recently. Now that you got me thinking about that, I just watched one recently where the guy used. Yeah, I can't remember. Men get emotionally activated when their wives or partners are more emotional, so they often use anger to control their partner's expressions of emotions as well as their own. You're upset. Your upsettedness is making me upset. So because your upsettedness is making me feel things that aren't anger. For example, I feel, scared because you are upset and I don't know what to do about that. Or I feel sad that you've been made sad. Or I feel jealous that someone else caused an emotion in you that I couldn't cause. Or that you're sad for someone else that isn't me. Or I feel, whatever. If we only know how to do anger, we're just gonna. That's the card we play. You go into your little deck of cards. You're like, I have one, and so we're gonna do that one, right? And it ends up being like, I need you to stop being more complicated because I don't understand all the complicated, and I don't want to understand the complicated. And if I open up that box and start looking at the complicated stuff that you're in, I'm gonna end up seeing my own stuff, and I don't know how to deal with that. So let's just both have one emotion, okay? Although anger has gotten a bad name in our culture, anger itself is not a problem. In its simplest form, anger is just a way of letting someone know that you're not happy with the way that things are going between you and that you want to find a way to make things better. Anger becomes a problem in relationships when it is either not expressed or acted out rather than discussed or resolved. So the anger isn't bad. God gets angry. Jesus got angry. Anger isn't bad. It's what you do with it. Anger is a fuel, right? Anger is like gasoline. It's a good thing. Gasoline is a good thing when you burn it, and it can change the world. You can get to the moon. You can move. An airplane. Gas is good. It is also dangerous, right? If channeled properly, run through the right system, understood well, and properly managed, that anger can change the world. It can be a good thing. if out of control, you start throwing gas willy-nilly all over the place because you're not bothering to pay attention to it, and you're not really channeling it anywhere, you're going to hurt a lot of people. And a lot of guys, they don't have the nuance, they don't have the ability to channel. So what they do is they just hurt people, hurt things around them, and just everything's on fire. And then they go apologize as though somehow they can burn down the forest and then go spit on it and hope that that makes it okay. And then wonder why everybody's scared of them, or why they don't have, why their friends are so distant, or why their wife never shares with stuff with them, or why she is more vulnerable with other people. It's because you only have the one emotion and you didn't need that one right now. In many instances, men may resort to the familiar experience of anger to conceal from themselves and others what they are truly feeling. What men most often feel underneath their anger is fear. Men get angry to cover their fear. You feel a lot of stuff, but maybe the root of it is fear. Fear of being discovered, fear of their own weakness, fear of all kinds of stuff. And if I yell loud enough, you won't see that. That's the idea. Hello, Supersonic. See if you recognize yourself in any of these everyday situations. Number one, your anger that your wife or partner spends so much time texting and talking on the phone with friends might mask your fear that she's not enjoy talking to you as much as she does with her friends. That's a great example, right? That's not fear, that's envy, right? That is jealousy. That is a desire for intimacy, a desire for communication, a desire for a deeper relationship. But because of your emotional insecurity or emotional lack of experience, right? Then you end up not being able to communicate it. And so you channel it into anger, and then you yell at that person and be like, you're always talking on the phone, talking to people. Why are you doing that? You can either come out, you spend more time with me, spend more time doing important things, right? And it ends up, if that person would be able to spend 5 minutes thinking about it, why am I upset that this person has friends and is talking all the time? Is it because, they're avoiding work that they're supposed to be doing and they're always on their phone and they shouldn't be doing that because it's actually causing problems for them and others? Or is it a sense of that you just feel like you want attention too, and you don't know how to say, hey, I'd like you to spend more time with me, because that would be vulnerable. And what if she says no? It's scary. Sucks that when people can't do that, but it's true. Anger at your wife. It's funny, your wife could be your friend, your kid, your roommate, could be your sister, could be anybody. For coming home late from work and bringing work home with her might mask envy and fear of you being less successful than her. It could be a lot of things, right? It could be that first one where they want to spend time with her and she just isn't respecting that kind of boundary. But it also could be insecurity, right? Not fear, that's insecurity. I feel as though like I should be the winner of the house, or I feel like I should be important. You seem more important than I am, and I feel small because I was told at some point in my life that men are supposed to be the one who are doing businessy things, and women are supposed to be the one doing emotional secretary things, and you're doing businessy things. And I come home and I'm sitting on a video game, or I'm doing something that isn't that, because it's not how my job works. You know what I mean? Superman got angry at injustice, but when he got upset, he just obliterated. Well, that's the thing, right? He punch. Your anger being criticized by your partner to the point where you can't seem to get it right might just mask your fear of not being able to please her, or not just please her, but like the idea that your own frustration with your own ineptitude, right? Like it's I feel inept, I feel stupid, I feel foolish, I feel like I should be able to figure this out, but can't. I feel like I need help, but I don't know how to ask for it. Yeah, obviously, like it comes you get told, hey, you need to do the dishwasher. You're not helping out around the house enough, right? And so your response can either be, you're right, I'm not doing that enough, and I don't understand why, and it takes me forever, and I don't really get it, and I'm not sure how to manage my time well, and I'm really tired. I don't know how to manage my energy well, and I feel like that we're distant. I want to come home and I want to be with you and talk to you and have conversations with you, but you somehow want to just clean the house and keep the house clean, and so therefore we're never talking to each other, and just feels like you want to just keep everything perfect and not have a conversation with me. What's up with that, right? As opposed to that, you just kind of just get mad You just get mad instead of expressing the anger or expressing the other feelings. Your anger that the kids always come first with your partner, that she never seems to have any time for you, may mask your fear. You don't know how to have the kind of close relationship she has with the kids. Yeah, there's another one, right? You see, you're jealous. That's jealous. That's envy. Yeah, exactly. Once you begin to recognize some of the deeper fears underlying your anger, you may consider the truly intimate act of discussing your fears with your wife or partner. This act of loving vulnerability may be very frightening to consider, but the rewards often far outweigh the risks. The risk, right, is that video we watched. You remember? Like, if you haven't seen it, I wonder if I could just bring it up here. Nope, I'll bring it up again. Whoop. Nope. Dang it. I am bad at the mouse today. Is it on this one? Yep, there it is. So, this comes up again, right?
Hey, what are you doing? I came out to check on you.
Huh?
What are you doing? Thought you were working.
I'm looking at this.
So, if we psychologically take this thing apart, here, I'll make it bigger. How do I do that? It worked so good before. There, that's better. If we take this part a little bit, what we see is a guy who is in an emotionally vulnerable state. He's trying to figure himself out. In fact, you look later, he's like, does that make sense? Because it doesn't make sense to me. I don't know why I feel how I feel right now. And I just came in to check on you. No, I did. That's your perspective. I would say, Samus, like, I came out to check on you, sound demeaning and angry. No, that depends on how you've been checked on in the past, right? Because if you've had people in your life that come and check on you to make sure that you're okay, and it feels like a sense of that they want you to be safe and stuff, that's a good thing. If I'm coming out to check on you, is usually them criticizing no matter what you're doing. You know, you're always doing the wrong thing. Why aren't you doing something else? Then yeah, coming to check on you obviously sounds bad. That's going to be your own Rorschach, how you see that, right? Again, I think that's more you than anything else, based on how you hear that. Because it could easily be I came out to check on you. Are you doing your work? Or it could be I came out to check on you because you're usually not sitting in one spot. What's up with that? But in this case, it is not that. It is neither of those.
What is it?
It's wire. It's a spool of wire. And I'm almost out of it. Can you see the spool of wire?
Mm-hmm.
I'm almost out of it.
Okay.
And I've had this spool of wire for like 40 years. Bought it.
That's edge of tears right there, right? That's edge of tears. Like he's like 40 years, and all that is a thick phrase, right? I have 2 men in my life at this exact moment so I can identify it. This is I am getting too old to do the thing that is my entire identity and all the people I admired. Yeah, like literally, it's like he's wearing a work belt right now. Looks like anyway. And so like he was at work. He's doing work stuff, and it's like there's a lot going on here. And if you aren't used to expressing your emotions and you're not sure how that feels, right? You don't know how that feels. What's going on inside of me, right?
Like this, it's on a piece of a long time ago, but it's like 40 years of my life is in the wire that's gone. Does that make sense? This is what's left.
Right? This is what's left, the wire that's gone. Does that make sense? Right? Because if you look, in my opinion, psychologically judging this guy from not knowing him at all, is very much I don't know what I feel. I don't know how I'm feeling. I don't know what this is. For some reason, I looked at this wire and all of a sudden I'm choking up. What's up with that? Now I have a choice here as a guy. I can either express this emotion and tell you and say, hey, I'm going through a thing and I'm kind of curious. I'd love to hear your perspective on it. I'm working through some emotional stuff. Or I can suppress it. Now, I'm not telling anybody that. Throw that piece of wire away. That made me have a feeling. Or I can sit here and try to process it myself. What's going on there? See if I can find some semblance of understanding. And there's a journey happening. And this is a golden opportunity. Like we were just talking about this, right? Where are we? Once you begin to realize some of your deepest fears underlying your anger, as in, I'm afraid of my age, I'm afraid of my body falling apart, I'm afraid of losing my usefulness, I'm afraid that I might not have many more years left, I'm afraid I have regrets, I don't know what to deal with. You may consider the truly intimate act of discussing your fears with your wife or partner. Here's the truly emotional act, the risk, right? Intimate act, the risk. Here's the risk. Here's what could happen.
I'm sorry to hear that, and I'm sad for you, but you're wearing your Jets
Right? No, you're not. I'm sorry to hear that, and I'm sad for you. No, you're not.
hat, and I'm a little concerned right now that you're wearing your Jets hat. I thought that's why you were crying.
Okay, I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah. See, it's heartbreaking, right? I'm done. That another extremely thick phrase. What does I'm done mean? It means I tried again. I tried again for the last time. Tried one more time to share with you how I feel. I tried to open up emotionally a little bit. I tried to be vulnerable in front of you. I tried to have some kind of connection and risk it. And I'm not doing that anymore. I'm done with this conversation. I'm done sharing the feelings. And that may be the last time he opens up. Like, that was it, right? Because awful. I don't want to end on a bummer note to say, because I do think that there is a way to do this. I'm sorry, I'm just seeing a did he react to this? Okay.
He's holding his entire life's work and his wife.
Hold on. Did he do a follow-up? I think he did a follow-up. Like, if I'm looking. I don't know. I gotta find it. Spool of Wire guy update. Is that a thing?
Recently, I covered this video.
All right. This lady's kind of fun. She's kind of fun. All right. Let's get the update. Maybe there's something maybe there's good news. Let's find out.
A man has a pretty poignant moment with a spool of wire where he realizes that he's had it for about 40 years and it's running out, and he kind of has this clash with mortality, only for his wife to kind of take the piss out of him by coming out and making fun of him for it. Well, the wife Cindy has responded, but she's only made things worse.
Uh-oh.
So in this video, Cindy basically explains, you guys just don't have a sense of humor. Dan is fine. But the video is made even weirder because of the fact that Dan isn't even there, so all we have is her word to go off of. This video was not well received, with the top comment being, Dan is fine, and he will continue to be fine every time you ask him how he is from here on out.
Dude, truer words have never been spoken. Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about. Yep, he's fine. From now on, forever.
So then she sends Dan in to make a video, and this makes things even worse because somehow Dan ends up apologizing for all of this, saying that it was unfair for him to blindside his wife with that. Blink twice, Dan! I guess she managed to successfully convince him that if he wants to have an existential crisis, he's gonna have to pencil it in on the family calendar ahead of time. It's just...
I was hoping for a better end. Oh, man. I mean, I get we're getting snippets, and we just saw a video about another video. But like, that's rough, dude. That is rough. I feel it's really hard to process going through that and then being pooped on, and then you watch a video where your wife's like, yeah, it was a joke. Suck it up, man. It was a joke. Which doubles down on the fact that you're like, man, I just embarrassed myself to the world. I went viral. I was crying on video, and my wife just legitimately just crapped in my cornflakes, and that makes me feel horrible. Oh, and yeah, and then she's like, you need to film this. I'm getting a lot of hate. Okay, the internet is super mad at me. You need to tell them it was okay. You need to say it was fine. That I said that, okay? Because otherwise, the internet's just killing me here. I'm gonna lose my TikTok. People aren't gonna watch me anymore. I'm only getting negative messages. People are starting to DM me horrible stuff. You got to say something. And so she pulls up the video, and off we go. It's yeah. That was I wish I could find his actual video. That would have been nice. Nobody ever has video anymore. You only have video of the video. Best I could do. But yeah. All right. So that's that article. That's that talk. We're going to move on to another one that I think is kind of interesting, which is bit more spiritual, but I think it's tied in. I think you're going to see why I tied this in a minute. Since Satan knows the ultimate outcome of God's plan, why does he continue opposing God? So this is the next thing. This is the next part. The reason that this is going to connect a little bit, you'll see as I read. Consider as you put this in there from the perspective of why people do what they do. Okay, there's something in here that I just thought was really kind of interesting. Actually, you know what? I'm changing my mind. We're gonna do this one next because this is far more thematic. This is far more thematic. So we just talked about, the manipulative husband with the Christian Bible stuff being horrible. Then we talked about why men get so angry. This is from a game that I thought was super interesting. Polygon. I never played it. I played the first one and didn't like it. Death Stranding 1 was not my cup of tea. It wasn't a lot of people's cup of tea. Okay, it was not just me. A lot of people. But this article is about the gruff video game man, and I think it's really cool that this kind of came up at the same time as us talking about these, and grumpy men and guys and whatnot. This is a positive example. So the idea is, we just talked about why men are so angry, and it's because they think that that's going to make them more heroic. It's going to make them more relatable, more strong, more more protected. And so here's the gruff video game man. So let me read this because I think you're going to appreciate it. In almost every way, Sam Bridges from Death Stranding 2 on the beach and its predecessor is the purest archetype of video game character. He's a stoic white dude with a gravelly voice. He's a man of few words and determined action with strong feelings he buries deep. He's got dark hair and stubble. He's got a normal, dependable, single syllable first name and a thematic appropriate surname. Like so many men, modern video games, so many modern examples of the form. He's a dad now. He is gruff video game man. I like that. Gruff video game man. Gruff video game man is the cliche who stares grimly at you from the many boxes and posters and trailers. He's Max Payne, he's Sam Fisher, he's Marcus Phoenix, he's Joel from The Last of Us. He is that guy from the new Call of Duty trailer who is so bland, he's actually difficult to see. He's the empty shell you pour yourself into. He's also the antithesis of diverse, heteronormative, masculine, and super white. He's the expression of the lack of imagination among video game developers and the small-minded caution of game marketers that have artificially constrained the demographic reach of video games for decades. Sure. The point is he's crazy normal, and there's a reason why he's not interesting. There's a reason why he's not expressive. There's a reason why he doesn't have opinions. There's a reason why he doesn't do anything. It's because the general marketing idea is that people need to see through his eyes, and if you give him opinions, if you give him non-conformist viewpoints or whatever like that, your average guy, your average player is going to have some kind of negative reaction, right? In the same way that if you have somebody that has a strong opinion, they're gonna immediately be two sides. Well, they don't want two sides. They want to sell it to everybody. So this guy doesn't get to be anything. He just gets to be. Here's the thing about Sam Bridges, though. He is also Norman Reedus, an actor and a real human. And once Gruff Video Game Man becomes a real person, he ceases to be Gruff Video Game Man at all. Many actors have played Gruff Video Game Man before. Troy Baker, for example, portrays Joel in the Last of Us games. There's Joel. Not only delivering his voice lines, but using performance capture technology to express his movements. But Joel doesn't look like Baker. He isn't Baker. He's designed character, an archetype ideal that's been etched out by Naughty Dog's artists and then filled in by Baker's performance. Hideo Kojima, the director of Death Stranding games, is responsible for perhaps the ultimate gruff video game man, Solid Snake, or Naked Snake Big Boss, from Metal Gear. Tall and rangy, with his trademark headband and almost paradoxically grizzled voice of David Hayter. Who's David Hayter? Why is that paradoxically grizzled? What the heck? Should I know why it's paradoxically grizzled? Oh, what? I don't know why that is. Okay, I don't get that. Don't know who that is. Snake is pure iconography. He's great character design, but he's not a real person. Not really a person. Kojima has taken a very different approach with Sam Bridges. Even though the character is similar on paper, Kojima Productions' unbeatably good 3D scans and performance capture means Sam doesn't just sound like Ritas, he looks like him and moves like him and even stands like him. It's much closer to a film performance. Let's take a look at that real quick. Just kind of, what's the Sam Bridges, right? Sam Bridges, Death Stranding. Let's see if there's some good examples of him. Yeah. I don't know what that was.
Next time you see a delivery man, you may just want to thank them for their dedicated service. Sam Porter Bridges, portrayed by the legendary Norman Reedus, is a porter who works for Bridges. See what they did with the name? Anyway, Sam plays an important role in reconnecting the cities of America after the cataclysmic...
No, I did not see that. He makes bridges and his name is Bridges. I did not figure that out. Not at all. Okay. Let's do comparison. Hard to find on the fly. I kind of wish I would have found it earlier, but he looks very normal. I don't know if you guys ever played it, but he's stop looking at his junk, maybe. Yeah, dude. Nobody likes that. I mean, how many times? So yeah, the idea is that he is he moves very family friendly. Yeah, that's me. Always very family friendly. Okay, so the I just kind of wanted to make the point that he moves like a real human being. That's all I wanted to say. Okay. Kojima has taken a very different approach with Sam Bridges. Even though the character is similar on paper, Kojima Productions' unbeatably good 3D scans and performance capture means that Sam doesn't just sound like Ritas, he moves like him, looks like him and moves like him and even stands like him. It's much closer to a filmed performance where the actor becomes the character rather than puppets them. And while Ritas, the tough guy from The Walking Dead and the Boondock Saints, is definitively gruff and white, and all the rest, he's also him. He has features you'd never design into a common denominator of hunky manhood, though he is unquestionably a hunky man. He's kind of stocky with sloping rolling shoulders and a bullish neck. He's got an unreadable squint, a downturned mouth, and lank emo hair. His physicality is dense and bulldog-like, but he also has a quietness, a stillness, and an interiority that speaks of vulnerability as much as strength. He also has that weird trick that great movie actors have, where the less he does, the more presence he has. There's a dude. He's just a dude-looking dude. Yeah. Kojima Productions has successfully captured all of this. Actually, Atomic, I don't know if you ever played the first one, but there's a scene where you go pee. And if you swing the camera around, he's not very happy with that either. Sam is much more than a collection of cliches he might appear to be, because he's a person with all the individual quirks that go with it. Ritas' performance and Kojima Productions technology can't make him a deeper character than he's written. He's still a pretty simple, stoic, reluctant hero type, but those elements can and do give him humanity. This trick can work on NPCs as well as player characters. The scans and performance capture don't have to be cutting edge either. Cyberpunk 27's Johnny Silverhand is theoretically a pretty corny character, but because he is Keanu Reeves, he's actually cool. You feel excited to hang out with him. If a likeness and performance have been captured just well enough, it can transform your relationship to a character. But what Ritas and Kojima Productions have achieved with Sam does more than that. It dignifies a whole game. Maybe even does the impossible. It dignifies gruff video game man himself. In an ideal world, he still wouldn't be so dominant. We'd have a wider spread of video game protagonists to choose from. And if all of them had the realness and humanity of Sam Bridges, Norman Reedus, just imagine. So the reason I wanted to bring this up and talk about it a little bit in light of the stuff that we've been talking about is basically that I think it's interesting to compare the reaction that this one person had. I can almost guarantee. Is Oli a female or a male? I was going to say a female because it was basically talking about, oh no, it's a dude. All right, never mind. The reaction this guy had to Norman, because the reaction is basically, this guy has nuance. This guy has emotions. This guy conveys emotions with his face. This guy isn't just standing there stoically. And the reason I wanted to say that is because one of the misnomers of husband A, who wants it to be a caricature of Christian dad of, ye old times, and why men are so angry, who don't want to share their vulnerability, who don't want to show what's going on inside, so they channel it all into anger. The idea is that if they do that, they're going to look vulnerable, they're going to look weak, people aren't going to like them, they're going to be in trouble, right? The counterpoint is this, at least in one man's opinion, this guy here, is that it actually is a better experience. You like the person more, you like the character more, you like everything about that person a little more because of the nuanced subtleties, because of the vulnerability, because of the emotions you get to see. The gruff guy, like these guys down here, who just kind of stand there, like especially that dude, right? Just kind of stand there looking like that, furrowed brow, no expression. That's all we do, is just, this is it, is less interesting than the guy who you can see the emotions through, you connect to. In fact, if you look at some of the greatest, most influential people in the world ever, they are people who weren't one-dimensional. They were multidimensional. They shared their heart, they shared their vision, they shared their fears, they shared the hopes that they had, they shared the danger that they felt. They had a dream, and they were willing to bring people in, even though people might disagree, even though people might argue, because they wanted to see a better world, or they wanted to see a better future, or they wanted more people to be involved, or they were scared and they needed people to change. That's how it works, is that they shared a vulnerable thing in their heart, and then then people came along with that. Did people get upset? Yes. There was an entire side who said, these guys, whoever they were, shouldn't have said that, shouldn't emoted that way, looked like a namby-pamby sissy pants. But you know what? More people reacted positively. It's usually the stuck in the mud, stupid guys who don't want to share their emotions, who are afraid of that, right? Who are afraid of what would happen if they let their heart show, that are going to complain about this guy. But the truth is, most people, women, other men, children, they respond to this. They respond to people that have the emotions, that have a wider range, that show a sense of vulnerability. It's a good thing to have, positive thing to have. And I recommend, I don't know if anybody who's listening, like on one side, you have the women, or the in that are not part of this, maybe part of it, whatever. The guys in your life, being a place where, as we've learned, you can share your heart. If you see a guy who finally cracks the armor a little bit, recognize how dangerous that is for them, how scary that is for them, how rare that is for them, and how sometimes it's because the chest that they keep inside their heart, where they lock it all away, is leaking. They've put too many things in that box, and it is now leaking goo, and it's out of control, and there's stuff going on inside they don't understand. And if they finally let it out, you have an opportunity to listen, and to maybe even help them to understand, process it. Not that you want to attribute or ascribe to them what they're feeling, but to kind of just be there to say, hey, that's interesting. That's, what are you feeling there? Like, what would you say the best response to that guy with the spool of wire would have been? What would the best thing that wife could have said? It would have been, oh, wow. Like, what do you mean? Tell me more. Like it's the spool of wires really got you got you, feeling something. Where do you think that comes from? Right? Ask a question. That what I literally did unconsciously was called reflective listening, which is the best way to listen. You say to the person what you think they said, and then you ask a clarifying question. That's how you listen. All you have to do is no. That I don't agree with that ukulele, because you've deflected away from the emotion. You made it instead of being about the thing that he's feeling, you made it about the spool, which allows him to close off. Right? It allows him to kind of go, oh yeah, I forgot. I'm not allowed to share my feelings. I'm only allowed to talk about the tools. We'll lock that back up. It seems like you have felt this way, or you said this. Am I correct? That's how reflective listening works, right? Wow, that spool really kind of hit you hard. And it's almost gone. I feel like what you're saying is that your life is getting to the end of the spool. Is that correct? Is that what you're saying? Or it looks like you've had an emotional connection to that thing. It's really important to you. Is it what makes it so important, right? Reflective listening, right? Is here's the thing that I think I see, and am I correct in seeing it? And they can either say, actually, yes, that's kind of, you're right, that is kind of what I'm feeling, or no, that's not quite it. And in arguing back or clarifying, they discover more about themselves and more what's going on, because they're using their words to try to work through that emotion that they're not used to. That's counseling, the secret of counseling. Reflective listening. You let them do the digging, and all you have to do is guide the shovel. Well, I'm sorry, I may have been a little strong on that, the bring out the story, but theoretically you could, how did that wire start and things like that. Not bad. It's not as bad as what she said. It's infinitely better than how she reacted. Oh, wow, cool. Interesting. How long have you had it? Or where did you get it? Or why'd you start it? Or what did you use it on last? Things like, yes, for sure. I would just say that from my perspective, if you were to do it, and I get a chance to think about this on the fly. So or I get a chance to think about this after some time, have to do it on the fly. But basically, let's dig down into that emotion. Let's dig down into that feeling. Let's dig down into that perspective, what's going on inside you, rather than make it, then bring it back around to the external, right? Like if someone shares, I'm really scared of the war, really scared of, my boss, I'm really scared of, instead of going, tell me more about the war, tell me more about the boss, tell me more about the work situation, as though you're trying to solve the problem, you say, tell me more about the fear, tell me more about your perspective, tell me more about your reaction, because that's the part that they can control. They can't control the boss, they can't control the war. What they can control is their response to it. So that's where you want to stay. You want to stay in that area of them. But again, your response is infinitely better than what she did. That was terrible. Yeah. All right. We can do, I don't know, we can do this one. How long is it? It's pretty long. There was only one part of this that really kind of connected to me that I thought was interesting. Maybe we'll just kind of fast forward to it. The question that they said, was if Satan is familiar with the Bible and knows what John wrote in Revelation, why does he bother when he knows the outcome? Is he, although I have no specific scriptural support for it, that Satan is an ultimate egomaniac, that being the case, he might overestimate his power, which is under God's control, and be delusional about his role in the events of the last days, thinking he might somehow really be the Most High. Why, if Satan's losing his marbles, or Satan's going to lose anyway, rather, he is, if Satan's going to lose anyway, why does he bother, right? And there's a fascinating thing in here. I want to see if I can find it really quick. In trying to summarize this, Samus, we don't need the last two segments. We only need the first two. We don't, these last two aren't going to make good videos because they're all over the map. Maybe just the reaction to that video, but we did that before, so this is we don't need these two. How far did I read this morning? So basically, what it said was, hold on, is it mental? There we go. Satan's entire delusion is that he's like God. This is the reason he fell and introduced sin into creation. How you have fallen from heaven, O star of the morning, son of the dawn. You've been cut down to the earth. You've been weakened to nations, but you said in your heart, I will ascend to heaven. I will raise my throne above the stars of God and sit on the mount of assembly in the recesses of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. Nevertheless, you'll be thrust down to Sheol, into the recesses of the pit, right? That's one of the interpretations of that, is that the fall of Satan. The reason is because he wanted to be like God. He presented the same deluded idea to Adam and Eve, and they chose it too. For God knows the day you eat from it, your eyes will be opened. You'll be like God, knowing good and evil. This is an intoxicating delusion. One who is operating their life based on the illusions of grandeur will act irrationally consistent with their mental or spiritual illness. Therefore, even though fallen creatures know the revealed truth and know that God exists, it is irrelevant to them. Satan is convinced that he is free to act, smarter than God, and able to thwart God's plan. This is a perspective I'd never really thought of. And that is, you ask the question, why does he keep going? If he's so smart and he's so, biblical, and he knows the Bible well, and he knows he's going to lose, and he knows God and whatever, why does he do what he does? It is consistent with the irrationality of his thought in his mental spiritual illness. In other words, he is a raging egomaniac. He does have delusions of grandeur. He does believe no matter what happens in front of him, no matter what he's told, no matter what he sees, no matter what scripture says, no matter what anybody says, that he's going to win. He believes that, and nothing's going to change his mind. If later we learn, basically that, the angels don't see the future. Angels can't read minds. Like, they kind of learn things in the same way we do, which is why we can quote unquote preach to them, kind of thing. And they see revelation as we reveal it to them, because they don't do that. But the idea of the enemy is nuts. The enemy is completely sold out in their mental illness, completely sold out to the fact. And if you think of somebody who has some really severe mental illness that leads them to have, they hear voices, or they see things that aren't true. They have paranoia, or they're schizophrenic or whatever. The issue is that their brain sees the world in a way that is untrue, and they completely buy into it. They completely believe it, right? The OCD person who's really bought into their OCD is like, if I don't flick the light on 12 times, then the world will come to an end. I have to do it. And they just operate in their world through that lens, through that framework. I'd never thought about that before. That the reason that he continues to act the way he acts and does the way he does is because he is absolutely unchangeable, absolutely irrational. Nobody can argue with him. Nobody can give him a different perspective, no matter how hard they try, because his brain doesn't work that way. He can't hear it. He can't see it. He completely agrees that he is the most important being in the entire universe. His way ultimately will be the right way. Everybody else is lying. Everybody else is wrong. God is wrong. God is a liar. God is trying to steal his glory. And there's nobody that can convince him otherwise. And the reason I wanted to bring it up, why it occurred to me today, is because how much does that sound like that first husband, right? Is completely sold out on the delusion that the best way for him to have a marriage, best way for him to have a wife, is through crushing her spirit and treating her like a servant in a baby factory, right? How insane is it with the men that are so angry that they believe that the way that they live and the way that they function is the best way is for them to only have one emotion, only to channel it all into anger, not to be vulnerable, not to be open, not to share, right? They're what keeps them trapped and what keeps them foolish and what keeps them sinning and what keeps them hurting people is the belief, the intoxicating delusion that the way that they are living their life right now is the best way. Eventually it'll work out, right? Eventually everybody will come around. Eventually everybody will do what they're told. Eventually my wife will be happy because I yelled at her enough to be so. Eventually she'll come around to my way of thinking and everything will be great. She'll be my perfect servant and my life will be perfect and she'll be, you know, the intoxicating delusion that they're right. And it destroys them, destroys the people around them. And always when you do that, when you have that kind of thought, the most important thing you can do with it, in my opinion, is to ask the question, what intoxicating delusions do I have that I'm operating under that is consistent but irrational? Right? What are the thinking patterns that I have that I've just fooled myself into believing and I'm completely stuck in? And keep trying to use the word intransigent. And I'm pretty sure I'm using the right word. Unwilling or refusing to change one's views. Yeah, there you go. I did. Me word good. Like completely stuck on that. And like you just kind of sit back and sit in that for a minute and ask yourself the question, what do I do and what do I keep doing that I think is going to work? Definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing and expecting different results. Like me yelling at so-and-so eventually is going to make them love me more. Me eating that food is going to make me feel healthy at some point, then feel better emotionally. You know, me using porn is going to make me feel better, and I won't feel gross afterwards at some point. Me being alone is eventually I'm gonna get used to it, and it'll suddenly be okay, right? Like that's why I keep doing it. That's why I keep going back to it, because somewhere in me is this idea that this is better. It will work out. This is going to make me feel better. And so therefore I'm going to go do that. But it is an irrational, intoxicating delusion. It makes you feel like you are okay. You don't have to go out and be with people. You don't have to, you don't have to make a friend. You don't have to be vulnerable. You don't have to, find another interest or accept your whatever. We just have to keep doing the same thing and hoping it works. Which is, if that's true, biblically speaking, this is what this is happening right now with Satan, where he's just like, no, it'll work out. I just got to keep doing it. I'll just keep opposing God and making people miserable and tempting them and hoping and trying to drag them into hell. And eventually it'll work out. How do I know? But because I know. But everything in the universe says that's wrong. Like your counselor says that's wrong. Your parents said that wrong. The Bible says that's wrong. Your spirit says that wrong. Your conscience says that wrong. Why do you keep doing it? It'll work out. I believe it'll work out. Like, are you dumb? The answer is yes. That's dumb. But it's, I don't know. Maybe it's not the right way to end the whole thing, but like, I thought it was super interesting that could be the reason why he acts the way he does, why he's so consistent in the way he acts, is because he's acting crazy because he's got a really screwed up perspective that he won't let go of. And what do we need to learn? That's it. That's the lesson. That's all I wanted to say. So in all of this, I'm going to throw it out now and ask, does anybody have anything they want to talk about or share or ask or bring up, or based on any of this stuff or otherwise? If you do, let's talk about it. If not, now's the time we'll rate out. Up to you. I've seen it likened to the Battle of the Bulge in World War II. The Germans knew why they were done for, but they made a last-ditch effort anyway. Yeah, well, and I mean, when you're at the point of sending meth to your soldiers so they can function, and grabbing grandma and grandpa and 12-year-olds and sending them off to the front lines, you're way past. But that was a thing, right? Hitler was actually nuts. He was delusional. He was crazy, and so therefore, in his mind, whether because he was chosen by God or because he was, by nature of his powers, his influence or whatever, something was going to change. He'd make it happen. All he had to do was keep throwing, bodies at it, and eventually work, because whatever he had decided, and it didn't matter. The irrationality didn't matter. Euclid says, ever since I first saw that first video, I wanted to say, I better not catch any of our streamers talking to their family that way while gaming. Oh, you mean the first video? Whipping out the Bible? Yeah, that's a dead giveaway. Man. Whip out the Bible while playing Call of Duty. I agree. Like I ran Fight USA minuscule spell. Yeah, well, that's it, right? There is some like North Korea is another great example of people that are, of a dude that is absolutely just bonkers, like Satan level bonkers, sold out to his own power and ego and grandeur and whatever. He buys his own press. He believes he's God and that he is, eventually it's going to work out and he'll be king of the universe. He believes it. Okay, back to just chatting, and we're going to, I'll start the process of rating out. Good to see you, Hannah. I hope as well. How did this go? Not that I need you to give me strokes, but is there anything I can do to improve these kind of streams? This new system, this new format where we just kind of read stuff, look through stuff, talk about stuff. Is it good for you? Was it good for you? I hope it was. If not, tell me how I can improve it. If it was, tell your friends, right? Hey, pass it on. Pass it on there, Blessing Boat. Tomorrow is Taco Tuesday. We are going to be talking about creator stuff. I got a few things to say. Found some articles. Found something to react to. Got one called YouTube Doesn't Want You Anymore. I thought that was a pretty spicy title. And I'm also trying to put these videos out on YouTube in such a way that it's kind of so people can watch them, and so they're in there, and hopefully cut out a couple of the cut out the break or whatever. But it's the whole talk, so that's why hopefully that works. People might like it. If not, I'd love to know how you'd like me to improve my YouTube channel too. I do want to get better. I feel like I want to get better. Let's read Zelda. I haven't rated Zelda in forever. She's great. I've never met a happier, smilier person. It occurs to me, Zelda the Hobbit and the Hylian, Hylian Hyrule? Hylian Dunedain, who's another guy. They're both from this, straddling the same stream sphere. Zelda the Hobbit and the Hylian Dunedain. Yeah, copy paste that thing. Hopefully that'll let us go over and celebrate. Thank you for listening. Appreciate you being here. And I will see you tomorrow. I appreciate y'all.